Hunter, you've played Batman Arkham Asylum. Where do you think this
sure
one
have.
is? Do you think this is a good boss fight, a mediocre battle?
Oh, it is bad. So bad.
Literally. Hey, how's it going, everybody? And welcome back to a brand new season of the HGO podcast. I am your host for today, Ethan, and joining me for another year are my co-hosts, Kyle and Hunter. Hey guys, how you doing?
It's the same two
I'm
people.
doing just swell.
You know what they say, dude? New season, new font. It's just like Royal. Here we go. Hey. We didn't come up with that joke before we started. Oh, we're so funny. Welcome back to a new season, guys. We got renewed. Someone just, oops, I swore. It's all good, though. Oh.
Did you guys see that?
Hunter's maybe not doing swell. Maybe Hunter's not doing swell. Maybe that's
A
the
ghost
start.
just entered my house.
Holy,
Yo,
maybe that's what we're gonna do. Variety.
Did you guessed ghosts?
Yeah, this is where I'm just expecting the Scream Mask guy to just come behind Hunter and stab him, and then Sam shows up or something. I'm like, wow, that's a dramatic way to start.
I'm doing swell.
Yeah, that's a dramatic way to get things started. But no, welcome
That'd be
back to the
wild.
show,
Imagine if we
everybody.
scripted things. That'd be crazy.
Imagine if we scripted the entire podcast and it just turned out.
Imagine if we scripted
reading
the
a
light
script.
flickering.
I know, right? We just had one of your siblings in the the fucking fuse going flick flick. Like, there we go. Just got it down in our show notes right here. Yeah, crazy. Welcome back to a new season where we change the font and we do the exact same shit we've done the past two seasons. So welcome on in, everybody. It's a brand new season. We're back for another year. Thanks for supporting us for the first 2 years. Unfortunately, we're not doing an Animal Crossing or Doom episode or whatever the hell we did for the start of season 2 last year. I don't even remember what season 2's opener was, so it must have been great.
I'm sure it was fantastic.
I'm sure it was great. But no, welcome back, everybody. Yeah, same shit. Basically, that's all you need to know. Is we're still going to be here every Monday around about noon Eastern, 5 p.m. UK time. Currently, it's 4 p.m. UK time because the UK has not gone to the future yet. But we will be soon.
Dude, I love daylight savings time.
Oh, it's great because I keep thinking, because I was like yesterday, because I said to you guys that I was busy, so I was like, oh, and then I realized, I was like, oh no, I could technically be on time, but then I realized that you guys were an hour forward, so I was actually an hour late anyway, so I was like, oh, I guess we screwed it. I would have been screwed anyway, so that's all good. But no, in terms of changes, we're all still here. We're all still doing good. There's a few tiny changes.
We have no changes.
There's a couple. I've spent 6 hours on this
changes,
today. Thank you very
changes.
much. There's a new intro slides, kind of. There's new fonts in the background. There's also new color schemes. I basically took all the horrible color schemes out and did new ones. So there's that. You might see bits and pieces, different changes, new banner, the usual stuff. But in terms of big changes, you might see them throughout the year. I'm kind of stopping the kind of annual changes. So if we come up with an idea and we just want to roll with it, then we're going to do it. If we're going to stop talking about awful news and just depressing shit that happens in the game industry, we're going to do that. And spoiler alert, we are, because we're not fucking talking about Harry Potter. I can tell you that much this week.
Nah.
You've probably heard 99 opinions on that shit. So I'm just going to say pass and talk about shitty bosses, because that's what we're doing today. Right, Kyle?
We sure are.
So we're back with the 3x3s. We're starting strong. We're coming back. We're coming back to the thing that everybody loves. So, what is the 3x3 this week, Kyle? And what's it all about? Give us the lowdown.
So this week, this idea came to me while I was watching a live stream. We're gonna be talking about final bosses. We're gonna be talking 3 good ones, 3 bad ones, and 3 kind of just like middling, mediocre, underwhelming, whatever.
I don't remember what I called it. I came up with...
You said the good, the bad, the ugly boss fights or something.
It was either good, the bad... It was either the good, the bad, and the ugly, or something like... I was like, the best, the worst, and weirdest video game bosses was something that I was going to call it. Something like that, like... I don't remember what I was going to call it, but you've seen the title. It may have changed multiple times as we failed to get it right. But,
The magnificent, the meandering, and the morose.
Oh, but I'm sure it's going to do really good with YouTube's algorithm, dude. I'm sure they're going to be
if the rest of the world had
alliteration.
Yeah.
If only. So yeah,
too bad no one would ever search those terms, unfortunately.
That's why we'd get so many views, obviously.
Yeah.
But no, so we've all brought together.
Roping all those English teachers.
Yeah, basically. So yeah, we've all brought together three of the what we think are three basically our three favorite bosses, our three least favorite bosses, and three bosses that we think are pretty mediocre. This is an interesting one for me because I'm not a big fan of video game bosses, so it was a really hard list for me to pick. Because I'm like, I hate all of these. In real
Specifically final bosses too.
Specifically final bosses, which is something that Hunter had to correct me on instantly. As I thought of three, and then Hunter was like, I think he said final bosses, and I'm like, shit,
I did.
Back to the drawing board.
While he was talking to me about it, I forgot the stipulation too, because he mentioned one, and I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that for some reason, and then I was like, oh, that's why.
Yeah, because it's not a final boss.
Oh yeah.
If only Ethan was clever enough to read the fucking chat and decide and see what the actual credentials were, what the actual thing was about. But
Criteria.
Hey, here we go. So, before the show, ladies and gentlemen, we prepared something. I decided to finally use my copy of Elden Ring for something, and that's not playing it, guys. Still not fucking done it. What we're going to do is, before the show, put this on the shelf. It has our three names in it, and they're all at the bottom of this barrel. They're all in here. Oh, hello. That's how webcams work. And I'm going to give it a massive shake. We're going to give it a shake around. This is probably great ASMR. I'm going to get this close to the mic.
This is when we see Ethan's name card fall out of the box.
This is where I just quickly look inside, find my name, and just push it to the side and pick someone else's. No, I won't look, because that's cheating, and I'm not a cheater, guys. So I'm going to actually move the cam onto me so that the audience can see it. So, guys, I'm not looking, right? I'm not looking. Can you see that I'm not looking? Is everything still on the thing? Okay, cool.
I believe you.
I'm going to pick this one out, okay? Oh, God, they're all stuck together. Fuck. Right, I've got one. Right, I got one. So, the answer is... He's going to say it's rigged. It's Kyle. Wow.
Epic.
It's rigged as
so
always.
I want to bring up the other stipulation Ethan had was that we don't section off what's where. We just put them into the 3x3.
Yeah, because I didn't want it to be 3 good at the top, 3 mediocre in the middle, and 3 bad. I wanted us to have a bit of a game with it. I wanted me and Hunter to go, oh, that's obviously a bad one. Or, okay, why is this game on your list? Because it's just boring if we have good, bad, underwhelming, bish, bash, bosh, and everyone doesn't have a conversation about it. So it's going to be funnier. Because you might have a thing that we might go, oh, that might be one of his favourites, where it turns out it's actually shit. So, it's going to be fun to do that. So,
I'm just looking at mine right now. I like all of these games except for one.
Oh, okay.
So, this is going to be interesting.
I think all of mine came from games that I like, which is why
I liked all of the games that I had. It's like I'm not coming down like I wasn't gonna be like, oh, final boss of Final Fantasy 15 sucks because the game sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
What sense does that make?
So yeah, I guess Cal, you're going first. So we have all got it up. You guys have got it up on your PCs. I've got it on my phone because I can't look at it on the PC because of the setup that we have. So I guess you can count us down, Kyle, because then it'll be the same latency for everybody.
In 3, 2, 1, reveal.
Okay. Okay, right, okay. This is interesting because...
This is fun.
In particular, it's interesting because
what's standing out
games,
to you guys?
Right, well, the one that's...
Conspicuous by his absence.
Let's talk. Let's give the audio listeners what they want first. Let's talk about them. Let's say what they are. So the games are Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess.
Audio listeners.
I'll remember you, audio listeners. If no one else does, I will. Okay, so we have Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess. We have The Legend of Dragoon. We have Persona 3. We have Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Torn of the Golden Country. Final Fantasy 6, Kingdom Hearts, No More Heroes 2, Super Metroid, and Octopath Traveler. So I don't know. Hunter, where are you wanting to start with this? Because the one that's interesting to me, and the only reason I'm bringing this up is me and you had a conversation about this one game.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was contemplating on adding it.
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Torn of the Golden Country. Because I was going to specifically go for the expansion as well.
Because base game's final boss is terrible.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll talk about that later. So Torna, go on. Tell us why did you pick Torna?
One thing that I really love about Torna is how much it relies, or how much it plays into you having played the base game first.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout the base game, you just hear all about the Aegis War from 500 years ago and how like cataclysmic it was for the land of Alrest. And I just love this boss because at that point, you're at the end game, you're playing the war, you're playing the Aegis War essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And whether you realize it or not, your beating Malos here leads into the destruction of Torna as a country. And it's a really nice set piece that relies on the player's knowledge from like the main game coming back into play here. And also, it's just more Malos, and Malos is just a great antagonist on the whole.
Right, you see, you see, here's the problem though, because this is why I struggled to put this on the list. That's not technically the final boss.
Yes, you are correct.
That's why
Gort isn't a boss.
No, but that's the thing.
You can't lose to
the
him.
angry capybara.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. That is the final fight in the game. So in my heart, I couldn't put Malos on this list because by the technically by the stipulation, like I'll personally allow it because I also agree Gort's a piece of shit and doesn't deserve to even be in the fucking video game.
Correct.
But at the same time, in my heart, that's why you'll get to my list eventually. You won't see Torn of the Golden Country on there because I couldn't put it on there. Because in my heart, I'm like, as much as I hate fucking Gort and his stupid phase, I just couldn't put it on there.
Yeah. And like, after I put it on my 3x3, I'm like, oh yeah, Gort does exist. But also, it's not a fight.
For many counts of murder.
In my opinion, like, it's just a set piece moment. You can't possibly lose that fight to him. So it's really just there to cap off the rest of Laura's story arc, pretty much.
Yeah. It's like, one, I do think that Malos fight is really good.
Yeah.
Shame on Hunter for still not having played Torn of the Golden Country, by the way.
My God.
Oh well.
Nah, dude, genuinely.
well.
No,
I'll get to it someday, maybe.
Genuinely, you should play it before Xenoblade 3, just because it probably is the best Xenoblade game. Like, genuinely, I love Torn.
It's pretty freaking good.
To pieces.
I do believe you guys said something about how you have to play the side quests to progress.
Yes, but here's the thing.
Yes.
And I don't think I want to do that.
No, but here's the thing, right? Is in a similar way to Forbidden West, as people who may know if you've listened to the podcast before, I very much played Forbidden West where I did every single side quest you could possibly do before even doing the main quest. I 100%ed Forbidden West with my final thing being the final fucking mission, right? That's the way I played that game. I did the exact same thing as Torna because I loved living in the world of Torna because it was so interesting to me, where I didn't even know that doing the side quest was a prerequisite until Kyle told me that it was a prerequisite because I did them all accidentally as I went. So to me, it's all about the mindset, really. Is if you go in there knowing that you have to do
my
it,
mindset in previous Xenoblade games is the side quests suck, so I ignore them.
Same.
I mean, a lot of the side quests are just like collect stuff, and you can just do that. Like, you can collect things along the way in that game, and you just get like a stash of everything.
Yeah.
I'll put this in my stash later.
Yeah, he will put that in his stash later, but no. It's an interesting pick. I'll allow it. Just because I too want to forget that Gort is a final boss. But I do think it's interesting that we both went to that. And you went, fuck it, I'm forgetting Gort. And I went, I can't do that. I guess I'll pick something else. But no, that's interesting. Hunter, I'll let you have the next pick. Which one do you want to go to?
What's up with Super Metroid there?
Okay.
Godzilla Mother Brain.
Super Metroid's final boss is overrated as hell.
I agree with this. As someone that's never played the game but has seen it at GDQ roughly about 6 million times, I agree. Because I'm just it's like
people care about it more for like the thing that happens rather than the actual.
It's a nice thematic set piece and a nice way to cap off the game, but from a boss fight standpoint, it's no different from any other boss in the game. Except you're in a tiny box area, you can't move anywhere, half the screen is blocked off by a dinosaur, and you're just sitting in the corner shooting missiles.
Category.
Is this meh or bad? Yeah, that's a good point.
This is in mediocre, yeah.
Okay, I thought
just
so.
like, because it's not a bad boss, it's just, it's overrated. I've heard it, it's overhyped. I've heard it talk to hell and back. Like, it's just another Metroid boss.
I enjoyed fighting Ridley previous more.
Yeah.
I think
thought like a lot of the other bosses were more interesting because they had things you had to pay attention to. Like Kraid,
like
used like 2 halves of the screen, and then
sumo wrestling with Crocomire.
Crocomire,
and it's like
Drayden had that cool.
Yeah.
The cool alternate way of killing him with the grapple beam.
I don't know. It's like I'm all for event set pieces being a final boss in a way. I do like the idea of final bosses not just being hit the thing. One of mine is very specifically like not your traditional final boss, right? But I also like the actual boss of Super Metroid, the end of it, like the escape sequence is really cool, right? And it's a really cool way to cap it off. But the actual boss itself is just a Metroid boss, right? It's just there's nothing.
Rainbow Laser go Bert.
There's nothing.
And once you get Rainbow Laser, the fight's over.
Yeah. So I can see that. I think it's a controversial take because people think that the escape is so memorable, but if you
but the escape isn't the boss.
Yes, it's yes to me, yes and no, because it's all about your perspective on what me and Hunter were talking about this. What defines a final boss?
What is a boss?
Yeah, because we genuinely had this question because yes, it can be this fight itself, but it also can just be a final boss. Can be the final obstacle you have to overcome. It can be the final challenge in a video game. And it's like, I do feel, in my opinion, the escape definitely counts as part of that because it is kind of a countdown, don't fuck up, don't die scenario, right? But, again, I understand that that's personal opinion and some people will just take it strictly as locked in the box cage match, do the thing. And the escape's just like a set piece at the end. Whereas to me, it's probably more of a all-encompassed thing. And I may just be saying this because I will talk about a couple of my bosses that don't traditionally fit the boxing match thing later. But I still think it's a valid point, I also think that Metroid has done final bosses better.
Me too.
Yeah. Like Dread's final boss was way more memorable than Super's was.
Dread's was a fucking challenge, dude. Like that was
maybe not as much of a challenge as the games media would have you believe, but it was still,
It took me an hour. It took me an hour. Whereas the rest of that's an hour of my 8-hour run or 7-hour run or however long it took me. Literally, I didn't have any problems with the entire game, but that final boss, I was like, shit, I actually do have to pay attention here. But I do feel like Metroid is one of those series where there's so many good Metroid games. So, and I think that as much as people love Super Metroid, I do feel like there are things that other Metroid games have done better. And the final boss is certainly one of them.
Yeah.
Next pick from me. You see, I'm gonna go with I'm just gonna be honest, right? I'm gonna go with the one that I know nothing about, right? Legend of Dragoon. I know nothing about Legend of Dragoon. Like literally nothing, because I know what people are thinking. People are going like, Ethan's gonna pick Persona because he's a fucking Persona shill. I'm like, no, I don't give a shit. If anything, I don't want to listen to Persona because I don't know what the final boss is of Persona 3 because I haven't fucking played it. So I'm gonna go with Legend of Dragoon. What's up with
the final boss of Persona 3 for Kyle was his patience.
Tartarus is the final boss when you think of it, because you have to overcome that shit to get to the end.
It's just like the myths, dude.
Anyway, we'll get to that. Legend of Dragoon.
So anyways, Legend of Dragoon. So I said that I had this idea from watching a live stream, and it was this. They were talking about this boss where I'm like, oh yeah, this boss was fucking terrible. So Legend of Dragoon's final boss is 4 phases long, and this dude is just a hard HP sponge. He is a hard HP sponge DPS check. He has 42,000 health.
I'm still muted. What?
42.
That's a joke for your video listeners there, where you'll just see my jaw drop and nothing come out of it. That was great. But
hang
no,
on,
what?
it gets worse. They actually nerfed that from the Japanese version. He had 60,000 in Japan.
Fucking
Jesus,
crazy.
This final
Arabia.
boss legitimately took me an hour to beat.
No, it's
time I
like
played.
penance.
Oh, nice.
But
It's like
required.
base Yaldabaoth, dude. Yes, the fucking.
Oh my
it's
god, I
still
forgot about base
going.
Yaldabaoth.
It's still going.
Oh, that fight was shitty.
It's still
It was so
going.
bad.
It nearly went on my list. It's still going. You gotta love those
Dude.
boss fights that just don't know when to quit. When you're literally sitting there 45 minutes later, you'll never get it. Because Yaldabaoth isn't in any of our lists, by the way. I'm just gonna talk about this story because I have a friend called Fraser who literally sat through Yaldabaoth 55 minutes into it, near the end, died. So I had to spend another hour in it. And he literally fucking cried. He literally cried because he was like, I'm not doing it again. And I was just sitting there crying with laughter. Because that boss was so damn fucking long. Like, why?
I wasn't able to kill all of his hands when he was doing the, like, screw you spirit bomb thing, so I also had to attempt Yaldabaoth the second time.
It was
on
so
my
dumb.
first playthrough.
And I think that's one of the most satisfying things about Royal was just like the change of this is no longer the last boss. Quickly cut its HP in half.
Nerfed.
Yeah, quickly cut its HP in half. He's not the final boss anymore. It was just like he's now dead instantly. It's like, oh great, wonderful.
But
no,
yeah, this
anyway.
fight, like, Legend of Dragoon's final boss is just absolutely miserable to play. If I didn't beat it first try, I would not have finished the game. It's a combination of, like, your characters do such low damage, like 1,000 damage a hit, and combine that with low inventory space, limited inventory space also of 32 items. So, like, it's just a
1,000
perfect
damage a hit at
storm
the end
of
of an
things not
RPG.
working. What's
Yeah.
up, Hunter?
1,000 damage a hit at the end of an RPG? That seems like low numbers.
It's so low, dude. Cause like up to that point, Dragoon hadn't been a high damage game. The boss right before this only had 12,000 health.
That's
like
crazy.
triple that, like for the final boss, it's like
12,000,
why?
That's not too bad, you know.
I don't know.
A few party members doing 1,000 each time. It's like
It's
4
like-
rounds, maybe.
We'll get to this when it gets to my list, but the reason that I hate boss fights, and I said this to Hunter in the pre-show as well, the reason I personally am not a fan of boss fights is because, for the most part, especially with story boss fights, because we're talking about final bosses, they seem to fall into two categories. Either I'll love a game to pieces, we'll use Forbidden West as an example again, so I don't use my actual examples, where I'm over leveled because I've been loving the game that much that I've been doing everything, and the boss is a breeze, right? There's no real difficulty to it, and that's fine. I just get through them, but they're not memorable to me because I don't really have a challenge. The second is I'm not enjoying a game, or I'm enjoying it, but not that much that I'm just main pathing or I'm not doing everything. And then all of a sudden the game has a big fucking level spike, big massive cap, and it's like, oh, great, now I just want to beat this game, and there's this big roadblock in the way because they've expected me to play everything. And it's like, it happens a lot in JRPGs in particular, where they just expect you to be like,
Yeah, they don't
expect
know
at
how
the
to
final
pace them
boss's
out
level
very well.
50. I mean, we'll get to Kingdom Hearts 1 in a second. I'm glad that you actually remember Kingdom Hearts 1, because now I'm pissed I didn't put that on my list. Because, holy shit.
Oh, that's the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the first one.
It's
I guess I
awful.
tricked myself into thinking it was 2.
I love 2's final boss.
Well, yeah, but it's not.
I also think
that
2's
could have
final
been your
boss
other part.
drags, but it has the actual, at least it has the fucking...
At least that one
yeah.
has like
Yeah, at least
show-stopping
it gives you-
presentation.
It has the grace of giving you checkpoints so that you don't
Yeah.
have. If you die in the final section, it doesn't take you all the way back to Zemnis 1. It just takes you back to that section. Whereas Ansem is literally, hey, did you just die in my last phase? Well, back to stage 1, fucker, get wrecked. So I saw that you died to a bullshit move that you couldn't predict. Have fun having another go in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Trade offer.
I guess this leads into it. KH1's final boss is really awfully designed.
I've
It
never
did that
hated
Square
something more
Enix-
in my life, genuinely.
It did that thing Square Enix loved back in the day of going for spectacle rather than functionality. So what they have you do is fight Ansem as a giant spaceship in a flying battle, and it's really fucking dumb.
Oh, God.
It really
God,
does suck,
that
and I
part.
personally think that the thing that sucks the most, like we said, is there's this awful giant spaceship, right? It's basically like a load of flying shit, and Donald and
Yeah.
Goofy are taken away from you. You have these moments where you've got like 6 parts to it, 'cause you have to get Donald and Goofy back and do all this random bullshit in between. And it's the audacity that if you fail a single one of these fucking stages, that it doesn't send you back all the way to the start of Spaceship Ansem. It takes you all the way back to before you've even been to Destiny Islands to do Ansem the first time, and you have to do the other 3 phases before you get another shot. It's so unbelievably
God.
stupid, especially because, and I'll say this now, Ansem 3 is absolute horseshit. It's like I feel at times that it is genuinely RNG whether you make it through that fight or not because of the way that some of his moves come out. It's like it's so fucking awful.
And, like, Airship Ansem itself is just like bullet hell. You can't really dodge his attacks with any sort of consistency.
Oh, when he starts firing his fucking shit off, and it's like, well,
Yeah.
salute, dude. It's like you're like the fucking
Just get
captain on the
sniped in the back
Titanic,
from
dude. You're just
something.
standing there going, "It's been real" as the ship goes down.
I wasn't as scarred by this fight, but that's because I had already killed Sephiroth by the time I had already fought Sephiroth by the time I did this. So,
Dude, I wasn't
it's one of those
scarred.
cases. It was one of those cases, like Ethan mentioned earlier, of doing the other stuff and being overpowered.
I wasn't scarred by this fight either on my first playthrough. It was when I went back and did level 1, where you have literally 0 tools in the game. You don't even have scan. So that fight is just absolute hell. I'm like, this is...
I think
it's like
a lot
that
of
and the final rest Heartless fight before final bosses. The
You
final
see,
boss gauntlet.
I think a lot of your opinion on Kingdom Hearts 1 as well is to do with when you first played it.
Yeah.
Because if you played it when you were younger, you have more of a kind of, I don't know, acceptance of things being hard. I played a lot of games when I was younger where if a boss was bullshit, I would just sit and go, oh, I'll try again. I played Kingdom Hearts 1 when I was 18 years old. I was fully past that part of my life where I'd happily sit on a boss for 3 hours without saying things that I probably shouldn't say to a kid's game. Like, fuck you, you piece of shit. Like, that's genuinely what I was doing, like, every time. Like, my blood was boiling. Like, my heart was, like, dying. It was like, I've had enough. Please, just put the game down. It just is, and it's so funny to me, because it's a fucking kid's game. Like, genuinely. And I think Rechain of Memories also has a really fucking... Unless you know how to cheese that boss fight, it's also a very painful boss fight. Like, if you know how to
Just
cheese...
use fire.
Yeah, if
Doesn't
you know how
he
to
have
cheese
a
it...
Doom attack that's like super stupid? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's why... It's so upsetting, too, because Marluxia was so cool, and then his
really
fight...
cool.
If you know how to cheese him, you know how to cheese him. It's pretty easy. But there's a clip of me that I still have of me beating the final boss of Rechain of Memories on Twitch, and that's like the biggest I've popped off on a boss fight in my life because I had spent 5 hours on that fucking thing, and I was like done because I wasn't a massive fan of Chain of
Elden Ring
Memories.
can't hope to touch that.
Like, genuinely. Like, I've never had a pop-off moment like that because I've been hating, like, a boss fight as much. Kingdom Hearts is such a mixed bag of boss fights. They have some of the best boss fights in game history, especially if you're willing to put in the time to learn the moveset and actually do some of the harder super bosses, right?
Yeah.
And even some of the end boss fights. Like, people love to shit on Kingdom Hearts and stuff like that, but I love Xemnas as a boss fight.
Xemnas is...
Say what you want
fight
about
is cool.
Xehanort. I like how flashy, like, I like the look of the Xehanort boss fight, and it at least makes sense and has good checkpoints, even though some parts of it are a bit awful.
Keyblade Graveyard.
Kingdom
was a good
Hearts 1
build-up
though.
Also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes 600 years to get there, but yeah, like my favorite part is the Kingdom Hearts DLC was like, yo, you remember this 6-hour filler arc? Well, what if we did it again?
But now you can play as Riku.
Yeah, but this time you can play as the Riku side or the I want to find the fuckers that went, nah, I'll just play as Sora again. I bought the DLC, I'll just play as Sora again. I want to find them because they'd be crazy. But yeah, Kingdom Hearts 1 is an absolute train wreck of this 1 hour whack old man with stick fest, and it just doesn't work. And I really wish they ported and remade that game 3 times and they didn't fix it at all. And I'm like, come on. How many times do you have to release this game to fix it? Yeah, his wacky vision. Hunter.
All right, so let's go from that, where, we mentioned Square liking spectacle but not functionality, on to something that I believe is probably spectacle and functional. Final Fantasy VI's final battle.
Oh, thank you,
You know, we've been
Hunter.
talking about so much shitty bosses that for a second, I actually forgot that this was good, bad, and mediocre bosses. I just thought this was bad bosses, and I was like, oh boy, it's a shit show. I'm like, oh wait, we got good things? Damn it. Anyway, yeah.
Dude,
Obviously, you love Final Fantasy
good
VI,
shit.
so go on.
I
Pop
adore
off,
this
King.
video game, and this final boss is how you do. It's honestly how I think you should do a team-based RPG with like multiple party members, because before the fight even starts, you build your team of all 12 of your guys, and then one of your party members dies in the battle, boom, next person comes in. It's not just, all right, you four get in there, the rest of us are going to be on the bench over here.
Actually,
we'll be cheering you on.
Do you know what? Actually, I've just remembered a boss fight, Hunter, that I fucking forgot about until now that does the exact same thing. Persona 5 Strikers. It actually does the exact same thing where the final boss genuinely has the group split up into teams and everybody's involved in the final boss. And I was like, that shit's cool.
The thing about Final Fantasy VI is I believe that the other people don't factor in unless someone in your party that you're using dies.
Yeah.
Which is a good way to get around the fact that they didn't really have like subbing in your backline until like Final Fantasy X, I think.
I think it was 10, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I like that mechanic as an idea.
Really good.
I'm really hoping that in the next Persona that they do something like that, because it does always feel weird in these big JRPGs to have these parties of 6 to 10 characters and you only be able to have 3 to 4 of them on at a time, and then for them to be like, the others were there, because it's like, we'll talk like you talk about. I love 7 Remake.
Like
I love the boss of 7 Remake where it chooses the characters for you and just one of them just doesn't fucking take part in the final boss, and it's like canonically they do, but in your game, because the game's only built around 3 people, they don't, and it's like to me it's like, it just kind of sucks.
The weirdest part is they got like Red 13 functions as a guest character. Would it really be that hard to like slot them in to just do a few things?
It's going to get worse with Remake Part 2 as well, as they act like as Yuffie joins the party and hopefully some other characters like Vincent join the party. It's going to be weird when again you have like 6 characters at the end and it's like, no, only 3 of you are fighting Sephiroth this time. And it's like, come on, man.
I hope we don't have to fight Sephiroth.
It will be again. It'll be the same boss fight every
have
time.
some restraint.
Electric Boogaloo, dude. They just copy and paste the same one in.
That was one of the things about the fight in Remake where I was like, I can't be mad because this fight is cool, but also I wish you had saved this.
It is going to be interesting. Well, we're all interested in Remake because we just like, after the ending, and especially with intermission, we're still just sitting here going, how the fuck are they going to pull this one off? Because it's like, I love Remake with a passion, but even as someone who doesn't know the story of 7, I know that they're already changing things, and I'm like, how the fuck are they going to get away with this without saying, oh no, it's all for shits and giggles, it actually all doesn't matter, it's the exact same story, which will piss some people off, or they change the story and piss more people off anyway, and it's like, it's going to be an interesting one. But that's besides the point. I do love...
Anyway, Final Fantasy VI.
No, but genuinely, I do love this mechanic of, and I wish games did it more, of having all your party members, in theory, be functional at the end.
Yeah.
And I think it should be done more.
It really should, honestly. Because, thematically, it makes no sense that in RPGs, your other party members would just be on the bench.
Especially if they're there.
With the final boss.
Yeah, especially if they're there. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. The other thing I love about Kefka is, like, besides the fact that he's just, like, he's been this persistent antagonist through the story, and he's done that job
entertaining as all get out.
Yeah. It's really just a multi-part final boss that is done super well, to where none of the phases go on for too long, and it feels like... like Ethan was said earlier, RPGs are hard to strike the balance in, And I feel like this boss does it very well without having to rely on like cheap tactics like status afflictions and just instant kill moves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's got really good, everything feels really cohesive in this fight too.
Yeah.
Like all of the music is the same song, it's just like each phase of the fight is one movement of the song. It's real cool like that. They're all visually, thematically similar.
Oh, the music's freaking stellar in this fight.
Oh, Dancing Mad is an all-timer.
Is an absolute trip to listen to in game.
Yeah. JRPG final bosses are a very hard thing to nail. I feel like a lot of people will always say, I mean, look at the Persona series, for example. Final bosses, especially in the base iterations of the game, fucking suck. And it's like, a lot of JRPGs are the exact same way. You've mentioned Torna being a good boss if you count fucking Malos, right? But if you don't,
if you discount Gort.
if you count Gort, shit final boss. If you count if you count Xenoblade 1, shit final boss. If you count Xenoblade 2 original, we'll get to that one because it might be on my list, shit final boss. It's like a lot of JRPGs don't really they stick the landing story-wise, but gameplay-wise they never really do.
I feel like in turn-based RPGs, it's harder to strike that balance than it is in like action RPGs.
And I do think there are some, definitely, that do. Royal is one. I didn't put that on my list because I was questioning with Hunter. I'm like, I know it's been out for 2 years. Is that the cutoff point where we can start talking about that yet? But I still don't want to. Like, I still feel like
nah, you got a point.
I'm like, I'll say something else because I can easily say something else. But no, that I do like that as a mechanic, and I wish more games made use of your entire roster once the game ended. But no, that's a pretty good one. So we got a couple more games. I think we got 4 more. Is it?
I think so.
Gotta love 3x3s. Did you gotta love 3x3s?
I think you've done the cross. All that's left are the corners.
Yeah. So we talked about JRPGs for a while, so I'm gonna move away from the 2 JRPGs so that we can have a bit of a break.
Cool.
I'm interested in Twilight Princess because, as you know, I am not a huge Zelda fan. In fact, every single Zelda game that I have played that isn't Breath of the Wild, I fell off on the first 10 hours because I just can't get into them. You know, tried Ocarina, couldn't get into it. I tried Skyward Sword.
I didn't even realize Kyle got to the end of Twilight Princess. I thought I remembered him saying he quit at some point.
No, I definitely remember you saying
I beat that game as a kid.
That's
fair.
I've beaten the game once. I've beaten Skyward Sword once and Twilight Princess once. I don't want to replay those games.
Yeah, I can kind of get it. Yeah. I got to a point with Skyward Sword especially where, I don't know, Zelda just doesn't click with me. And I've started to feel like that's okay. I used to be like, something's wrong with me. I don't like Zelda. Why don't I like Zelda? And now I'm just like, you know what? It's okay that I don't like Zelda because Zelda's shit. No, Zelda's just not for me. You know? And it's like, that's okay. I just don't like this linear style of dungeons that just feel like, I don't like these linear style dungeons and nothing kind of worlds. They're just not for me. But I'm glad that people enjoy them.
The only Zelda game that I would actively replay is Majora's Mask, and even then I haven't played that game in years.
The only one I finished was Wind Waker, and I was like, it's good, but also I don't love it as much as everyone else. I love the art style. I think it's a beautiful game, especially on Wii U.
Oh, yeah.
Phenomenal looking game. But gameplay-wise, it's not for me. And that's okay. But anyway, so what's the final boss of Twilight Princess like, Kyle? Because I'm not going to play it.
Twilight Princess is a game that I definitely do not enjoy at all. I think this game's boring as hell.
That's interesting.
But the final boss was very much a standout moment for me. So it's a 4-part final boss. And what I really love about it is that every phase feels different and uses different parts of Link's toolkit that you get throughout the game to take down the phase. Phase 1, you're fighting Zelda being controlled by Ganondorf, and it's the usual tennis boss fight.
Yeah, it's the classic. But how he fights you in Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, and then part 2, you're fighting Beast Form Ganon, and for that you have to use Wolf Link to flip him over and then attack a weak point on his chest. Third phase is Horse Fight, where you have to get in close and have Zelda blast Ganondorf with a light arrow, and then you can attack him.
That sounds like Breath of the Wild. Is that? Did they make that from?
Yeah,
did they make
light
that from
arrows is a
Twilight?
staple of the series.
Yeah,
like,
light arrows.
You
are
shoot them with
part of
light
the
arrows
series.
and you shoot them with light
Ocarina.
arrows in Ocarina.
With a horse while you're on a
I think A
horse.
Link to the
While you're on a
Past.
horse.
While you're on a horse, I think that might have been specifically from Twilight Princess.
Yeah.
God, damn, Breath of the Wild shit, dude. It just nicks everything from everything else. God, I take it
Twilight
back.
Princess. This is one of the things Twilight Princess did better too.
Yeah.
Because like,
Yo, hype. I'm not
You
playing
don't have
30...
to aim the arrow.
Oh, but where's the
You
fun
just
in
have to
that?
control the horse.
Fair enough.
and more
But-
importantly, the phase that follows it.
The actual sword fight with Ganondorf, where he just
Yeah.
locks you in. It's a 1v1, and it's just such a good moment.
I love
like-
one-on-one sword fights in these games. They're so
For-
fun.
For as much as I really don't care about Twilight Princess, this final boss was super stand out to me, and maybe it's just because I played it when I was young, and this was like the first Zelda game I actually got to the end of, because TP was like actually the first Zelda game I played thinking about it.
Oh, really?
But yeah, what a great first impression. Edgy and dark and gritty and boring.
I really hate that period of time in games. Like,
And then
was
you
such
play,
a dark
and then you
time
played
period.
Majora's Mask, and you're like, oh, this is what they were going for.
Oh, now I get
just-
it.
it's just you can
No, I think I
tell
played
in
Ocarina
everything.
second,
Yeah,
which also
genuinely,
didn't
yeah.
do anything.
Because it's like, do I have it here? It's like, yeah, it's like even the colourful games, like even Tools of Destruction. Look at Tools of Destruction's like box art. It's dude bro as fuck. And it's like,
Yeah.
even the colourful games went edgelord as fuck. Ignore the ugly platinum PS3 game cases that were the worst thing ever invented. But it's like look at the Legend of Spyro. What's this fucking edgelord shit, dude? What's this edgelord? What's Elijah Wood doing? What the fuck is this? Like honestly, it's just like there are so like that era was just so kind of boring in terms of art styles and stuff, and it just always makes me laugh when people are like, "Oh yes, finally, it's the Zelda that we wanted," and I'm like, if I was a Zelda fan, I would have been
Who wanted
pissed
this?
because I'm like, I always like as much as I
Looking back through the scope of hindsight, it is really funny to think that people were mad at what Wind Waker looked
Oh my
like.
god, that
And
was
then,
such
like,
a dumb argument.
Thunderous applause when Twilight Princess was revealed.
especially when, right? And this is like, especially when you look at the big games that have been out recently, right? And you look at the things that everybody, like, say Breath of the Wild, right? Say Persona. Even look to multiplayer, right? With Fortnite and stuff like Overwatch. All these big games that people seem to love nowadays.
Super stylized.
Super stylized, super animated. And it's just like...
Yeah.
It just makes me laugh at how far we've come. That for like a good period between 2005 and 2010, everything was in a shade of grey and beige, and it was
Dude,
like
It
It was a weird time.
When I think about like my favorite looking PS3 games, like one of them is DMC4, and that's just because it manages to have more color than brown and gray.
honestly,
Like Devil May Cry's not always been an especially like visually great looking from like a fidelity standpoint, but you know it's stylized and it has colors, so
I mean,
that made it the
it has
best in that
personality.
era.
do you know what's a great comparison as well, Hunter? Bayonetta 1 versus Bayonetta 2 is a great comparison because if you ever have seen, like, if you look at Bayonetta 1, fuck me, it's as if someone put a grey fucking block over it and, like, made the opacity 50%. And then Bayonetta 2 as if they just removed that block and you're like, holy shit, I can finally
this
see.
is what it was supposed to look like.
Pardon? Like,
People besides Bayonetta are allowed to look
yeah.
kind of good.
It was just like, oh god, the world, like, honestly, I'm so glad that era's over. Because, holy, if we were still living there, it's like even Call of Duty, even Treyarch, at least once every 3 years, is like, yo, what if we had a bit of colour instead of the beige? I'm like, thank fuck, finally, some colour. And it's like, I'm just like, Twilight Princess to me is always like the ugliest looking Zelda game. And I'm sorry, but it is. Especially when you look at all the other ones that it came out around.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, wow.
Final boss cool, though.
Yeah,
I'm glad it does have a cool final boss, though. That's pretty epic. Right.
It's legitimately like the most memorable part of the game to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's speedrun through some shit, or else we're going to be here for 3 hours, right? So you ready for these, Kyle? We're going to do a bit of speedrunning because at this
Okay.
rate, we've got 3 left still, so we will genuinely be here for 3 hours. And as much as I'd love to take as much as I'd love to do a spoiler cast level, Persona 5 spoiler cast level episode, I don't think Jack and Sam, who are in a different channel, would be happy if we were just sat here for 3 hours. So, No More Heroes 2.
All right, shitty final boss, 3 phases. It's unsatisfying to play. Has weird triggers to progress the boss fight. Second phase can just instant kill you by punching you out a window. Final phase, he turns into a parade float, and it's unsatisfying.
Super stupid, and the boss before it would have been a great cap to this game.
It really would have. Game should have just ended there.
It really should.
Legitimately, just have Alice kill the final boss, the actual final boss, and then she becomes the final boss, and then that also gets along the message that revenge is unsatisfying because now you have to kill this cool character.
Yeah, everybody's argument was always, oh, it's supposed to suck because revenge is bad and all that, so they made the boss fight and the act and therefore taking revenge suck. But I'm like, if you just made the character beforehand kill him, it would have still worked thematically while also not being like having someone,
while not
drive
having a
nail
shitty
through my
boss
finger.
fight.
Yeah.
Okay, that's that one. Octopath Traveler.
Which final boss?
There's 8.
So I went with the true final boss. Galdera.
The 9 final bosses.
Yeah. This is a terrible boss, and everything surrounding it is awful. Never play it, or just play it once for the achievement's sake. So it's a 2-part final boss, and before you can even fight it, you have to go through an 8-boss gauntlet of refights of old bosses from the story. Yes, Ethan, that's real. It's real.
There's no checkpointing in between.
No checkpoints, no saving, no nothing. You're locked in once you start.
The reason I've not attempted this guy... Well, everyone's story is done by now.
There's no reason to.
But this is a boss that I tried maybe twice, and I got through the stupid gauntlet with relative ease because Rune Lord is broken.
Rune Lord's OP.
The Dark God is immune to that, so I got killed, and I'm like, I do not want to keep doing this.
Yep.
And so I've never beat it either.
I think on my first playthrough I got to the final boss and then put it down for legitimately a year. And then when I went back to do a 100% playthrough, I actually went through the whole thing, got it second try, and I'm like, I'm never doing this again. This is so shittily designed.
It's got an absolute belter of a theme song, though.
Oh, yeah. Daughter of the Dark God, absolute banger. I love random Latin chanting that means nothing.
It's the classic, dude.
It's so hype.
Palpatine, Sephiroth.
Yeah, you've got to love just random chanting that makes zero sense. I think that's why the Dragonborn theme is as powerful as it is, dude. To be honest.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know Hunter. I didn't know until 6 months ago.
He's just chanting dragon.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. This is how much of a fucking idiot I am. I didn't realize the Elder Scrolls theme is the exact same theme in every game.
Is it?
Yes.
Really?
I've
never played the other ones, so
is the theme of Elder Scrolls. I just thought, oh, that's the Dovahkiin song. So whenever I hear that, I just expect people to go Dovahkiin, and I'm like, shit. Skyrim made that such a banger that it's ruined it for all the other games now. I'm like, fuck. Like when Elder Scrolls 6 plays, I'm like, where's the fucking Dovahkiin, dude? Like I'm literally going to boot up Elder Scrolls 6 in 2029 and just be like, Dovahkiin, Dovahkiin. Right, and finally, without spoiling story stuff for me, because I'm a baby bitch, where does Persona 3 land?
It lands in the underwhelming / mediocre. Basically, every boss in Persona 3 is just a DPS check, and the final boss is exactly the same thing, except now the DPS check has a feature where it can become invincible for 2 turns, so you have to do nothing.
Oh, that's cringe.
It's great. That's how you combat DPS checks, everybody. Who needs cool gimmicks and cool ideas for bosses? Also, it's 14 phases long. It's not like to the level of it's not to the level of shit that Legend of Dragoon was, because each phase only has like 1500 health.
Okay.
But
That's
it's
still
just
ridiculous.
a big boring damage sponge. Music's pretty hype though.
Okay.
Battle Hymn of the Soul, a great song.
It is. I've heard it in Persona
is.
3 dancing. It's pretty fucking hype, guys. It's pretty fucking hype.
Was that one in Smash Bros?
It is.
It is. It's also in Smash Bros.
Nice.
It's also in BB Tag.
Nah.
Hype.
I assume it's
Might
also
be in Persona 4
for
Arena.
Arena Ultimax. I don't know. I assume it's there. We haven't bought
I
it.
bought that.
Oh, you bought
I
it?
did.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I haven't really gotten to play it because I've been busy on the Crash 2 grind, because I'm going back to being a grind monkey.
Hell yeah, rise and grind. But yeah, no, some interesting picks there, Cal.
And yeah.
I like them.
So was Legend of Dragoon a meh or bad?
I had that in bad, just because it's
that was
okay.
bad.
Then
So
what's
let's-
Octopath? Is it
Octopath is
meh?
in meh, just because there's
Okay.
no real like payoff for
Right.
it.
So if I'm correct, right?
No payoff
yeah.
or build up. It's just there.
So the good ones were Xenoblade 2, Torn of the Golden Country, right?
Mm-hmm.
Twilight Princess and Final Fantasy 6. Those were the good ones.
Correct.
The meh ones were P3.
Yep.
Was Metroid a meh or bad?
Metroid was meh.
Metroid
meh?
was meh.
And
Meh.
then what
Metroid.
was it? No More Heroes that was also meh.
That was Octopath. That was meh.
No, Octopath was meh. Okay, and then bad was No More Heroes, Kingdom Hearts, and Legend of Dragoon.
Correct.
Okay, there we go. Right, one down, guys. 50 minutes in, one down. Let's go. Hey!
I
Who's
think
ready?
This is a new record.
Who's ready for another tarnish to rise out of the box, guys?
Yeah.
Who's
Hunter,
ready?
get ready.
Who's?
Ethan took his name out of the box.
What's in the
I will confirm there is 2 fucking pieces of paper in there. Look, you can see them.
It's like, it's Kyle
2 pieces of
again.
paper with my name on it.
You get to share Hunter's 3x3.
Who has no maidens? Let's find out. Ooh, who is it? I've got 2. There we go. I have no maidens. Let's fucking go.
No maidens. Touch grace.
Let's go. I love having no maidens. What I also love is hating boss fights. So, yeah. I guess I'm going second.
Now give us the countdown.
Okay, you can have a look at mine in 3, 2, 1. Yata. There we go. Wow. What a right. So I actually took pictures of the actual
I did
bosses.
that too, and I was worried that that wasn't what we were doing
No.
when I saw Kyle's. I was like, oh no.
So, for those of you who are audio listeners, or as I like to call you, blind, we have got Marvel Spider-Man, we have Batman Arkham Asylum, we have Danganronpa 2, Goodbye Despair, we have Splatoon 2, we have Bloodborne, we have Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Ooh, I wonder what my opinion on that one is. Ooh, let's find out. Persona 4.
mystery.
Ooh, I wonder what my opinion of that one is. Let's find out. Sly 4, Thieves in Time, and Spyro the Dragon. So, I don't know where you two want to start.
Start us off with Batman.
Okay. Hunter, you've played Batman Arkham Asylum. Where do you
I
think this
sure
one is?
have.
Do you think this is a good boss fight,
it
a
is
mediocre
bad.
battle?
It is so bad.
It's dog shit, dude. Literally, Arkham Asylum is, in my opinion, close to a perfect video game until this boss
This
fight.
is what keeps it from being perfect.
This is literally the thing that stops this from being one of my favorite video games of all time. It still is one of my favorite video games, but this is literally Arkham Asylum is like one of, in my opinion, is like one of the most is like one of the best 3D Metroid-ish-vania games that I have ever played, right up to the final boss. And then the final boss is fucking dog shit. But man, the rest of the game is so worth everybody to play that it mitigates the final boss. Like, I love Arkham Asylum to death.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I used to adore Arkham City and I really like Arkham Knight. But after playing these games, I've played them all like a dozen times. The one that I still, and as my opinion's shifted over the years, the one I now think is the best game still in the series is Arkham Asylum. I think this game is fucking except for the final boss, flawless. And it sucks how bad the final boss is. So the final boss, for those of you who don't know, is the whole storyline of Arkham Asylum is basically to do with the Titan formula, which is this formula that when injected into someone mutates you into these massive like these massive thugs.
It's like a mutant strain of the venom that Bane uses.
Yeah, exactly. That I think it's Dr. Penelope Young, is that her name? Modified? I think it's Penelope Young. I don't remember.
I can't remember.
I kind of want to look that up now, because if I remember this, Penelope Young Batman. Fucking yes! Oh my god,
Good
Ethan's
job.
brain fucking worked for once in its life. Holy shit.
Now tell me a quest giver
Good
in
job.
Horizon Forbidden West.
Sorry?
I said tell me a side character from Horizon Forbidden West.
Fuck! All I know is Erend, Val, Catalo, Zoe, and the other girl begins with an A.
Ah.
That's it.
Aloy.
No, not Aloy, you fucker. the other female character. I don't remember the rest. But no. So basically, Joker,
Alloy.
for the final boss, Joker shoots himself with the Titan formula and becomes that big monstrosity, Kyle, that is on the 3x3. And what it genuinely is he drags you up to the top of the asylum, and you have this rooftop battle where, I shit you not, all it is beating some of his thugs. Mark Hamill says a quip, you grapple him with the battle launcher, and you pull him down, and you do that 3 times, and you punch him in. To be fair, it has a cool final scene where Joker's like, you can't beat me, and Batman's like, bet, and he sprays explosive gel on his fist and punches him in the fucking face and explodes the gel and breaks his wrist. It's pretty fucking epic, but the boss fight is absolute garbage.
It's no good. I hate it.
Genuinely,
the final encounter that Batman and Joker have in Arkham Origins is a quick time push square and punch him a bunch to Carol of the Bells, and I like that more as a final boss than I like this stupid thing.
The thing about the thing.
Yeah, it takes place during Christmas.
It does take place.
Oh,
God,
nice.
can I just Arkham
I don't
Origins?
know anything about the Batman games.
Arkham
Underrated.
Origins underrated, dude.
I didn't know
Troy
the
Baker's
PS3.
performance as Joker in that game is like fucking exquisite. Like genuinely. At first I was like, damn, it sucks that Mark Hamill isn't in this game. But then when I saw Troy Baker's performance, I was like, I'll allow it. It's so damn good. It's really fucking fantastic. I really wish Arkham Origins got like a PS4 port or something, because I feel like that game deserves more love.
It got unnecessarily segregated when they did the Return to Arkham thing and didn't bring it with.
Yeah. That's why I'm kind of excited for Gotham Knights, because I'm like, WB Montreal, in the short time span that they had with Arkham Origins, did such a like decent job, right? They were like, it's not as good as the Rocksteady games, but it was good enough that I was like, that was a fun time. I had fun. Where it's like, they've had 9 years to make Gotham Knights, so I'm like, this shit could be fire. It also could be garbage, but it could be fire, so I'm looking forward to it. But no. Arkham Asylum, man, what a fucking awful boss fight. And thankfully, both Arkham Knight and Arkham City have better endings, but man, Arkham Asylum does have a shit ending boss fight.
It's no good.
Anyway, there you go. What's next?
So,
it's your pick, Hunter, I guess.
Where's Spider-Man land here?
Oh, I love Spider-Man's final boss, because
nice.
I put these two are the polar opposites to me of superhero game boss fights, because whereas Batman, because they're both kind of cinematic kind of event, kind of like set piece kind of boss fights, right? But whereas Arkham Asylum fails to deliver on what it was, the Doc Ock fight in Spider-Man 1 is a Doc Ock fight with Spider-Man, and it's fucking great.
Yeah.
Because it's so epic. It has 2 phases, and I'm not a huge fan of the first phase, because the first phase is essentially you on top of a building kind of dodging things and throwing shit at Doc Ock and punching the shit out of him. It's fine. But the bit I love, and it's the cinematic part, is the bit that's in the image, where it kind of turns into a Spider-Man fight where it takes place on the side of a building, and Peter's injured, and Doc Ock's injured, and it's kind of like the Royal final boss where they're both injured, so it's basically just a fucking brawl to the death between the two of them on the side of a skyscraper. and it's
There are
just
like pieces of
epic.
his suit coming off.
Literally,
right?
Peter's suit is getting fucking ripped to shreds, and especially with the way that the story is going, and the way that the story, especially the relationship between Ark and Peter is, especially in the game, it's such an emotional kind of fight, even more so than I think the Raimi version is, because you actually have more time to develop them. And it's like, you kind of have that moment, and especially once the fight's over and you see the final scene and stuff like that, it just has this whole cinematic flair to it where I was like, damn, that's a great ending to a Spider-Man game. And I just really enjoyed it. And it's not perfect, it's not particularly challenging, it's nothing like that. But I was just like,
But
whereas
it's well
Arkham Asylum,
done.
like Arkham Asylum, it feels like a fucking punch in the face.
It could have been so much worse, as we just talked about.
Exactly. And I also think, in a similar regard, I also think the final boss in Miles is also not as good, personally.
I
Like,
don't.
It's very.
You were
I'm
talking
also
about
like.
Spider-Man, and I'm like, what even was the final boss of Miles?
I'm double checking now. It's like.
I'm just
it
like
was-
blanking on that.
Isn't it?
I know who you fight, I just forget what you do. Because I'm pretty sure you don't do much more than just kind of punch them.
It's the Tinkerer, right? That's the final boss,
Yeah.
isn't it?
That's
think.
who you fight.
Oh yeah, I remember.
I
It's,
just
it's the
don't
one.
remember
It's the
the
1v1 me,
thing.
bro. Where you just keep fucking fighting, and she has like the massive reflexes, so you have to like throw shit at her and then web into her
Oh.
and start punching her and shit.
Yeah, alright.
Yeah, it wasn't a great fight. That one isn't a good fight. But no, Spider-Man 1's is pretty sick. Yeah, I genuinely, that's how fucking forgetful the final boss of Spider-Man Miles Morales was. But
Yeah.
Doc Ock was very good. And if that's anything to go by, Goblin or Venom or whoever's the final boss of Spider-Man 2 is gonna be pretty cool. Maybe both. Maybe it's one where you swap between the two Spider-Men as they both fight different people. That'd be a cool idea.
That'd be cool.
But yeah, no.
Thanos.
Two sides of the superhero final boss coin. You know, Thanos is in
Nice.
Guardians of the Galaxy game for all of 2 seconds, and it made me laugh because
Oh,
whenever I
nice.
see him, I'm
So
like, he
epic.
looks goofy as shit. It's also funny because he's dead in the universe already. I'm like, well, that's pog, dude.
Oh, hype.
My favorite thing about the Guardians game is, and this isn't really spoilers, but it's like everything that's happened to like all the like character growth of Drax and Gamora happens before they're even in the Guardians. So it's like Drax already got his revenge and Gamora's already like walked away and has become a mercenary, and it's like the game's still fantastic, but it's like all those points where you're like, oh, that's the growth that they have. The game's just already like, nah, they already fixed that shit. They have scars over it, but they already did that shit before. It's like, oh, okay. Anyway,
Alright.
superheroes are over.
Kyle, it's
Kyle.
your pick.
What's next?
Oh, goodbye, superheroes.
Bye,
Hello,
superhero.
despair.
Oh,
No,
Danganronpa
it's
2.
called
Mostly
Goodbye
because this
Despair.
is like a visual novel.
Yeah.
This is what I was talking about.
Please
What-
tell me.
Define what a final boss is, right? Because to me, a final boss can be a boss fight, but it can also be the final challenge. So in my
Yeah,
case,
I
I
think
took
that's
this
fair.
as the final case of Danganronpa, because the final boss of Danganronpa 1 and 2, spoiler alert, is Junko, which is basically the final cases of Danganronpa differ because the final case is always, or instead of it being whodunit, it is more of a case of everybody versus
How
one
done it.
person in a debate is basically what it is, and that one person is
Yeah.
usually Junko if it comes to Danganronpa 1 and 2. In Danganronpa 3, it's something different. Well, and I'm sure one day we'll talk all in detail of Danganronpa V3, but not today. So
Subscribe and maybe we'll change our mind.
maybe Danganronpa 1 and 2 have awful final chapters, and I'll say that as someone that also you can decide for yourselves whether Danganronpa 3 also as a final chapter is awful as well. But the reason I chose Danganronpa 2 is because Danganronpa 2, when we know that the first time it was pretty shit, but fuck it, let's do it again.
Double down.
Yeah, it was like, and don't get me wrong, there's some cool moments, right? When some of the cast from Danganronpa 1 get just show up, and it's like, we're here to help. It's like, that's kind of a cool.
I sure liked it when the other two showed up.
Yeah, but yeah.
When
At
it
first
was
it's just
for a
Makoto,
little
and you're like,
bit, I was
oh,
like,
fuck.
I could
And then
do
it's
without
like-
this.
But then when Byakuya and Kyoko also show up, you're like, that's cool. But also,
Yeah, now we're
it's just
talking.
like, in Danganronpa 1...
And now we're still talking.
In Danganronpa 1, you have Junko giving all the exposition in the final 3 hours of the game because this case goes on for too long. You're like, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
What could make it worse? And I'm like, oh, I know what could make it worse. Junko's already dead, so the final boss of this game is an AI version of Junko, and it's just doing the exact same shit again. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. This is garbage, dude. Like, this is fucking awful. And, like, the whole thing revolves around this whole dilemma where it's like, the cast of Danganronpa 2 are in this simulation because they are basically, or they're what is known as remnants of despair. So before they were put into the simulation, they were basically part of Junko's, like, they were like her basically alpha agents of her despair group cult, right? They were like the worst of the worst. They were the people that were committing all these atrocities. And the idea is they were put into the Neo World program to kind of have all the Junko brainwashing out of them. But them, because they're full of despair, they put an AI version of Junko into the fucking protocol before they went in. And now they don't know that it's their own doing. And the idea is Junko's trying to be like, if you guys come out of the Neo World Protocol, you're basically going to be remnants of despair again. And she's like, you can
Rehearing this explanation just reminds me
fucking
of how
dog shit.
Backwards it is. Why did they program their program to fix themselves?
Yeah.
Who?
Why didn't
someone else should have done that?
And why didn't they program their program to just delete the program that fixes them? Like, why did they go to this half-assed? We'll program the program so that the program copies the first game in which we become unaware of what our past was, but then the despair protocol will bring back our memories. And then in chapter 3, we'll have one of us get the despair disease and remember, but they'll die anyway because they committed a murder. And then they'll go, when we say, hey, what the fuck's going on? They'll just go, tee, find out in 3 chapters, fucker. And then we'll get to 3 chapters in the future, and then AI Junko will show up and be like, yo, guys, want to go for another 2 hours of exposition? And then Makoto will show up and go, despair means hope, and it's like, fucking
That's not true.
Like, genuinely.
I'll cut down your words.
I'll cut down your words. There are so many good plot twists in Danganronpa 2, and this isn't one of them. It's fucking horrendous.
The better plot twists in that game are more on the granular case level than it is the
genuinely, like, there is
overarching story
like
where they show you the hand.
Like chapter 5
in the very
is
first hour.
Chapter 5 is genuinely brilliant, and it's like,
yeah, it is.
I'm like, fair play. That plot twist is excellent, and it's awesome, and it's kind of heartbreaking. You're like, wow, that's great, love it. This is just shit, and also, the solution isn't even like. They defeat Junko they delete her out of the Neo World program. The only way to get rid of her is if they all agree to leave, basically. And they're all like, you'll be remnants of despair. And they're all just like, no, because we have hope. And so they leave anyway. And I'm like, oh, so they came out and they are fine. They are now hopeful. And I'm like, so what was the fucking point? Because I thought the whole thing was if you left, you might be a remnant of despair and they'll have to fix you. But no, they just came out and they were fine. And everyone else was in a coma, so they didn't even really fucking die. And it's just like, wow, great fucking use of 25 hours, guys. Great, Teru gets to live. Fucking cringe. Like, oh my god. Horny little chef stays alive. Big L. No.
Big L.
So no, I fucking hate.
The tiny brat with the crescent moon hair also gets to live, and that's a big L.
I genuinely
hate her.
The final chapter of Danganronpa 2. And I used to hate Danganronpa 2 as a whole a lot more, but as I have been rewatching it and been like reflecting on it, I like it more than I did when I initially played it, but still the final chapter sucks. It's awful. Not a fan.
Also, apparently her despair cult was like the worst of the worst, but somehow in the group of people that are, the players of your game this time, no one was the person who designed Fruit House, and that is just hard to buy.
Yeah.
Because they are the actual worst.
Yeah. I guess that's whoever created the Neo World program, I guess, isn't it? I guess that's Alter Ego. Alter Ego's the real villain.
Alter Ego? Why?
But no. It's just, oh my, like, honestly, the final fucking AI Junko, like, is absolute cringe. And then V3 pulls some tricks and gaffes. And I mean, some of you were in the core when they started doing that with me, and I literally started losing my fucking mind. Like I literally was like going insane. I'm like, they're not doing it a third time. No.
It was so funny.
And it's like Danganronpa is a great franchise, but man, the fucking endings are fucking
wild.
awful. Yeah. Like honestly, it's a fever dream. And I'd recommend going through them at least once, like watching someone play them at least, because they're a wild ride, but man,
they're such an experience.
Oh, their highs and lows, dude. There are so like honestly. Even if you're not into visual novels, maybe just play it with a group of friends and just sit and shit talk it and just have a joke through it if you're not willing to sit through it on your own, because they're so weird that I feel like everybody has to play them in a weird way and have a conversation about them, because I feel like
if nothing else, they're really good for conversation.
They are really good. I've never not had a fun conversation about Danganronpa. Just ignore the fan base, because the fan base is a bit fucking hit or miss. But hey, it's not the same for like nearly every franchise. Anyway, there you go. Visual novel. In my final boss, 3x3, am I right?
My
Got
final
him.
boss.
What's next, Hunter?
Alrighty, Ethan. Tell me about Splatoon 2.
Oh, right. I forgot about this. What is specifically a Splatoon 2 Octo expansion, which was the separate story mode that they added. And it's just so fucking epic. Again, you've done a good job here, Hunter, because the first time around we did the two sides of the superhero genre, and here I've done two examples, like the flip of the coin of good and bad ways of doing a final boss that isn't a final boss fight. Because what Splatoon 2 ends in is a final quote unquote Splatfest where you have the final boss is a giant fucking statue, and you have 3 minutes to ink the shit out of it and just cover it. And it's like there's flashing neon lights everywhere. Pearl and Marina are like singing the Splatfest music on like on an airship that's cruising around. There's grapple lines everywhere, so you're like surfing on these lines at like these like rails everywhere, these grind rails as you're shooting shit. There's bombs going off. It's just epic. And I'm like, damn, Splatoon has some great boss fights, by the way. The DJ Octavio
final
boss fight
in the first one.
DJ Octavio's boss fights from Splatoon 1 and 2 are also excellent, to the point where I was going to put these on. Those could easily take this place as well. But it's just the idea of taking something like a Splatfest or like a thing like that and just having this big, massive, epic moment of world's going to end. Let's just blast some fucking epic Splatoon tunes while you've got 3 minutes.
Party at the end of the world.
Well, you've got 3 minutes to grind rail around and shoot the shit out of things as people throwing bombs at the place, and you've got to shoot the bombs to make sure that the ink goes everywhere, and then it ends with like this big epic moment. And it's like, honestly, Nintendo really does have a mixed bag of DLC where you have your low points, right? You have your low points of Nintendo DLC, definitely. But man, when they do an expansion, they always seem to nail it. Like Happy Home Paradise is a great expansion for Animal Crossing. Torna is probably the best the best DLC that Nintendo's ever done. And I honestly think that Octo expansion is up there. It is so excellent. It is genuinely one of those things where I kind of feel bummed that a load of people haven't played Octo expansion, because it's so damn good. A lot of people were just like, oh, it's just to add the Octolings. And I'm like, no, the single player for Octo expansion is so fucking good. Like, honestly, it's some of the most fun I've had in Splatoon ever. And you get to play as the Octolings in multiplayer afterwards as a bonus. It's like, to me, that isn't the buying feature that a lot of people think it is. That's just the pinnacle. That's like the cherry on top of finishing the DLC. And it's just so damn good. And it's, to me, that's like the perfect shooter boss fight, because a lot of shooter boss fights suck. They're awful. They're just a load of, it's a big tank, or it's a bit like, it's a run and gun section. Whereas this is just like ink the shit out of something and just have a load of music and a load of flashing lights and just have it be fucking epic. And it's like, I love it.
It's like a very non-violent version of like a Doom level.
Basically, yeah. It's everything that people love about Splatoon in one package. And I really do love it. So yeah, that is definitely a great one. I love how we've talked about bads and goods, no mediocres yet. They're coming though, guys. They're coming.
Let's see if I can hit one.
Yeah.
B5.
Sly Cooper.
Okay, so Sly Cooper, I'm putting this is in the mediocre category. Sly 4 Thieves in Time.
You got
And
it.
the reason that this is mediocre
Bullseye.
is it's a fucking quick time event. Like genuinely.
Ew.
Yeah. Genuinely.
The PS3 era.
All of the boss fights in Sly 4, to be fair, are pretty decent. Some of them are a bit shit, but they're all fine. Like the first boss against is it El Tigre? I think it's El Tigre.
Don't know, haven't played it, never owned a PS3.
No
What's his
means.
name? El Jefe, that's his name.
El Jefe.
El Jefe. He's a tiger, so I was like, Tigre?
the Jeff.
Jefe. Yeah. Voiced by Nolan North, by the way. So is the main villain of Sly 4. They just got Nolan North and they're like, hell yeah, dude, we're just gonna make you do 2 villains. That's how much we love you.
Hell yeah. Gonna
but-
use our Nolan money.
Yeah, but yeah, El Jefe is like he's probably the best boss in the game, right? Probably the best boss, or the elephant lady. I don't remember what her name is in the Arabian world. Also a pretty decent boss. Sly, the 4th episode boss, pretty mediocre. The second one was all right, pretty decent. The third one was a fucking rhythm game, so Ethan loved it. Most people don't. So Ethan loved it. Episode 3 of Sly 4 has such an interesting backstory to it because it has a villain in it called The Grizz. And originally they wanted there's an artist, I think he's called The Biz, is that his name? Like, yeah, is like hang on. Artist. There's an artist, I don't remember what his name is, but oh yeah, Biz Marquee, that's it. It's Biz Marquee, isn't it? Fucking hell, Ethan. They wanted Biz Marquee to play The Grizz, and they actually had communications with him, and they fell through, but they were actually going to get him to do it. And they had like this whole, obviously he was like a rapper, and it was like they had like this whole rhythm generated like boss fight at the end, and it was so dumb. But I just love that story behind it, that they were going to get Biz Marquee or something to do the fucking voice of him, and it was just like so dumb.
So wait, is his fight like an actual rhythm fight, or is it like a Ms. Ruby rhythm boss?
Kind of a mixture between the two. So a mixture between the two. So he's ice skating, and you've got to follow the moves that he does, and then there's like a Murray section after it where you actually do some punching.
I like punch.
Better than Miss Ruby because it's actually in time.
I wasn't sure if it was like something you could just mash through and.
No, you can't mash through it like Miss Ruby. But yeah, the final boss is The Paradox, also voiced by Nolan North. And it genuinely is. It's such a cool set piece because it's basically the whole time machine is disintegrating before them. So you have this whole Doctor Who moment where they're both fighting each other. It's a sword fight, right? And they're both fighting each other while the Doctor Who like vortex is in the background, and they're all and it's really cool looking, but it's just a quick time event where you're just mashing different buttons as this cool shit happens around you. And it's the unfortunate story of they ran out of dev time, and they had this idea for a really cool boss, but they ran out of time, so it had to be a quick time event. And it's kind of like how they ran out of time they didn't do the DLC either, which was supposed to be Egypt. But
now
it
he's stuck in Egypt. That's where that joke comes from.
Yeah,
Pour one
yeah.
out.
It was supposed to be a hint for a DLC that they never did.
Sad.
Oh well, let's hope Sly 5 fixes it. Please don't be a reboot. I'm looking at you. Who was making it? It's oh god, what's their name?
Pixelopus.
Pixelopus, please.
Pixelopus.
Pixelopus. God. And Sony Pictures Animation, please. If that looks as cool as fucking Spider-Verse does in any shape or form, like god. Do that comic book style, damn it. Be all awesome. Anyway. No, it's just such a mediocre boss fight. And I'm a big liker of Sly 4 in comparison to other people that don't like that game. I like it. I think it's fun. But man, final boss is kind of mediocre. It doesn't suck, but it just exists. It just exists, right? It's not offensive, like fucking Junko. That does offend me, and so does Joker from Arkham Asylum. That offends me too.
Yeah, so bad.
Okay, what's left? I don't know.
Let's see here.
Oh yeah. I've only got 4 left. Damn.
Yeah.
Rapid fire.
Tell me about Ganaski getting to work.
Again, another meh fight, dude.
Yeah.
If Spyro 1 is known for anything,
Yeah.
it's its non-boss boss fights. And it's like, if
Yep.
this wasn't final bosses, Spyro 1 would still make it into the meh round with literally any of the bosses. I'd be like, you pick your fucking poison. It's just run and press the circle button to flame their ass. Done.
Yeah.
And
I played
Nasty is
the
literally
reignited
that.
version of the first game, and maybe it's because I didn't play these games until, adulthood, but there was very little challenge to be had in any of it.
No. And the thing is, with Spyro 2 and 3, you actually have a challenge, right? There is... Ripto has the 3 phases, and the Sorceress has something like the different enemy, like the different turrets that you can fire, like the cannonballs and the moving tank and the saucer. Whereas Spyro 1 is literally just running around a track, flame his ass, and then jump over these platforms over fire and flame his ass again.
Yeah.
Congrats, you win. And it's just so meh. It's just so... it's just so forgettable. It's not even a boss. Again, it's not bad because it doesn't offend me, but it's just so nothing. And all of the other
I feel
Spyro
like-
bosses could go in the same place, at least for Spyro 1.
I was gonna say, I feel like platformers is a hard genre to design bosses in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
At least in
either,
what
like,
I've played.
Stupid simple with like Mario or something,
Or you do what Rayman Legends did and just change the entire gameplay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like, Engine and Crash 2, where you're shooting
Yeah.
him.
I think there are some good ones. And I mean, like, for example, I didn't put it on here because I was like, I've already put two meh platformer final bosses. I don't want to put a good one on here, really, because I wanted to talk about some other things. But Crash 4's final boss is really good.
Yeah,
for
I
a
like
Crash
that
boss.
quite a
Yeah, I
bit.
thought about that.
Crash 4 is probably the best final boss in a Crash series, like, period.
Mhm.
Because it
Yeah.
actually tests you on what you've learned, because it uses all of the masks in one way,
Against
shape, or
you.
form.
Yeah.
And also, it's not bullshit, because if you die, it resets you back to that phase because it knows it's a long boss fight. And I'm like, that's actually a really good boss fight. But yeah, I feel like it's either or it's bad most of the time in platformers. There's very few platformers that have a really good final boss. And Spyro, I think, to be fair, I think Ripto's a pretty decent final boss as well. But again, they're not perfect. There's no, like, I can't think of any. Mario fucking bosses suck, by the way. I just want to say that. I hate
Yeah,
them.
they do.
Jump
I
on the
can't think of any
fucker 3
that are great.
times, guys. 5 head.
Spin Bowser's tail.
Spin Bowser's tail, fucker. The only one that, like, I like Odyssey's final moment because that's cool, controlling Bowser and running him away. But
Yeah.
again, it's defining what's a final boss here. I was like, it's cool, but also the final boss of that section is literally fucking using the fucking hat again to beat him up, and then you fall into that crater. It's repeating that boss from the middle of the
Yeah.
game, and I was like, I don't think that.
Yeah. I think by technicality, because it's the only boss in the game, battling from a Celeste, I really liked that encounter. But
Yeah,
there's a
It's just-
whole other level after that, so I wouldn't have.
yeah,
I wouldn't really
definitely.
count that.
But no, 2 meh boss fights. Right, you found the 2 mehs, so I guess that means we've got 1 good, 1 bad, and 1 meh left. I think you can probably work out which one's the good, which one's the bad, and which
Somehow
one's the
we
meh.
balanced this out.
Yeah, perfectly balanced, as all things should be. I don't know. Kyle, it's your choice. Good, bad, or meh?
Hit me.
And which one's which?
Kind of curious where Persona 4 falls for you.
Meh.
Okay,
Um,
go on.
It's just every fucking Persona final boss is the exact same. They literally
The
the only
same
reason
marathon.
the only reason that this isn't Persona 5 Yaldabaoth is because Hunter convinced me. Because at least at the end of
Okay.
Persona 5, you get to shoot him with a big fucking gun,
Yeah,
and that's the reason.
the
It's because
Sentinel's
that's cool.
moment at the end is really cool.
Denial,
so it's
yeah, and then
almost
you
worth
like,
it.
And then you have the fucking cool moment where he's got his gun.
Be
Like that,
gone.
like, pff, yeah, that's cool. Whereas this guy just fucking crawls over and dies, and I'm like, cringe. So that's why Persona 4 gets the bad rap, because
That's fair.
it's just such a mediocre boss. There's just nothing to it. It's just boring. It's just a Persona final boss. And here's the thing, right? It's like
It's good enough. Yeah.
it does the job. It's not particularly awful. It's not particularly good. And I'm not a huge fan of without spoiling who Persona 4's main villain is that isn't God. I'm not a huge fan of that character. And it's like, it already was, I was already on like a kind of, like my mood was already kind of mixed. So going into this fight and just having another fight, God standard affair, nothing really special about it. I was like, yeah, meh, like The ending won me over. The ending definitely won me over. Like I love Persona 4's ending. Yeah. I think Persona 4 Golden's ending is far better than base P5's ending. But
it sure is.
It's like that final boss to me is just the epitome of it's fine. It does the job. It doesn't offend me. But also, it's just a fucking bullet. It's just a bullet sponge final RPG fight.
DPS check
with no emotion and no kind of personality. Especially with how fucking dumb it is. Like genuinely, like I get plot twists. They're fun and quirky, but the way that this god just shows up, and I'm like, that's dumb.
God. How did anybody figure out how to get that final dungeon playing the game?
No one did, and they're a fucking liar if they say that they did. To be honest, one fucker on GameFAQs did, and literally the other 5 million people who've played that game looked at the GameFAQ. Like that's genuinely what we did. And to be fair, the GameFAQ was probably written by someone that made it, because they were like, "This is bullshit." Someone on the Atlas West team was like, "This is bullshit. I'm gonna write a game for that." Yeah. Who knew that all you had to do was like go to fucking Junes, talk to a specific person, go back, go home, say no, I'm not ready to fucking go home, then go to the gas station, do this. I'm like, fuck off. Like who came up? At least Persona 5 Royals is just like, at least you have this confidant to level 10. Like that's it.
Persona 3 didn't have any of that extraneous bullshit.
It's like it's fucking horrendous.
No, just an extraneous final boss.
And an extraneous Tartarus. They're like, we extenuated the player enough in this game. We'll just give you the final boss.
Yeah,
you've earned it.
It's very meh. It's very meh. As much as I love Persona 4 in many ways. I love its soundtrack. I love its characters. I love its story. The gameplay has always been the weak link to me, and this boss does not prove me wrong. It's very much mid. And I know Persona 6, they're already programming God as we speak, but my God, it'd be so refreshing.
Which religion?
It'd be so refreshing if we got to the end and it wasn't God. It will be, but it would be so refreshing if it wasn't.
Yeah. And I think that's why Royal was such a nice breath of fresh air.
And we will wait till Persona 6G or whatever to come out.
6G.
6G, extra
Persona
internet.
6, good.
Yeah.
It gets to be good now.
Yeah, like I really do hope they don't do it. I'd love for them to have the final to people to like go against people's expectations, and in Persona 6 have God be the second to last boss and still have the actual threat afterwards. But they're not going to do that, and that'll be something for the special edition. That'll come out like 3 years later.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And we will feast.
Or just switch it around. Persona. Maybe not even just like have them coincide a bit more, like how in 5 Shido and Yaudabath are divorced from each other. Have it be like, I don't know, the villain of 6 and the god of, I don't know, sheep or something, whatever they want.
Yeah,
the god you killed, it'd be like this thing that he merges with. I don't know. That way there's still some kind of emotional core.
Maybe just also have the final boss / actual character not just be shitty adult number 62. Like, how about that? Like, I would have much rather have had the end of Persona 5 be about dealing with Akechi rather than having Shido involved. And I also think that's also why I dislike. I mean, me and Kyle have had this debate about fucking Adachi, like to there and back, and I think at this point we just agree to disagree. But in my heart, I just don't think shitty adult being shitty adult is good enough character development for me to be like, I'm all in on this character. And it's just like, I just would like something to believe in, not just, I'm a shitty adult because I'm a shitty adult. I'm like, yes, there are shitty adults, but can we get into why? And then just having Akechi just be like, I'm here, let me T-pose for you real quick. No, come on. Anyway. I'm done talking about Persona. We're done with Persona for today, guys, I swear.
Hunter, are we done?
Well, yeah. Anyway.
Okay. I didn't know if it was on your list.
Well, the only reason was we had to talk about best bosses, but like we said, we didn't want to spoil the ending boss of
Okay.
Royal still because we still think it's
Yeah.
too new.
Yeah.
So none of
That's
us are
fair.
in the clear. Right,
I
good
still
and bad.
haven't played it.
Hunter, where are we going?
Let's go to Gehrman entering or joining the hunt.
Gehrman? Right. The reason I chose Gehrman over than Moon Presence is because Moon Presence sucks. It doesn't suck, it's just such an underwhelming boss. It's like this really creepy thing, and then it just dies so easily. It just like gives up. Whereas Gehrman is just such a cool final fight. Because basically, Kyle, Gehrman is the first hunter, essentially. He's in a wheelchair this whole game, and he's basically your guide in a weird way. He sits in the workshop and he gives you hints of what you should be doing.
Yeah, he presides
kind of
over like the hunter's dream, which is the little world that you go
the
back
resting
to
area,
level
basically, between the nightmare and the waking world. And he's basically there. He's your guide in a way over the course of the game. And then eventually in the end, you have the choice to accept the dream and continue living basically in the hunter's, like, the nightmare, or refusing the dream essentially and fighting him. And it's just so badass because he literally just gets out of his fucking wheelchair and is like bet and beats the shit out of you. He just has this massive scythe and the music starts belting. And I know how you beat him first try, Hunter, but I didn't. This was one of the few bosses that actually gave me a bit of a fucking challenge. And I just loved it. It was so fun.
It was still a really good fight. Like, don't get me wrong. I beat him first try because I was coming off of the back of fighting the Orphan of Kos in the DLC.
You did the DLC and I didn't.
Yeah.
You see, yeah.
But a lot of cool... There's like a certain weight to this fight that's really cool too, because Gehrman's situation is, not exactly spelled out for you, but he's there because of the agreement with the Moon Presence was a hunter has to be there to preside over the dream, and he's been there for like ever, and it's ruined him, but he doesn't want someone else to have to take his place, and that's why he's fighting you.
Yeah, that's basically it. Is he's kind of the sacrificial lamb to the Moon Presence, where he has to reside over this dream, and basically the whole idea, right, is for Gehrman to be the final boss of the game, you have to have not had the arbitrary umbilical cords and eaten them, which basically means once you beat Gehrman, the idea is that your character's goal is to defeat the Moon Presence, but because you haven't eaten the umbilical cords, the Moon Presence basically overwhelms you and you take Gehrman's place, and that's that ending that comes from that.
Yeah.
And you now reside over the hunter's dream. But it's such a cool boss fight. And it's just like, it's so sick. It literally is basically fucking old guy teaches whippersnapper what's what and beats the shit out of you. Like, genuinely, that is what this boss fight is. And it's so
I love
cool,
boss
and it's
fights
so
that are
epic.
like battles of equals, where instead of that's a reason like why I also like Gehrman more than the Moon Presence. Is the Moon Presence is just big monster. I like the duel kind of fights substantially more in most cases. So having someone who's similarly equipped and similarly powered to you now, and it's just this awesome spectacle. The Field of the Flowers.
Yeah, the Field of Flowers is nice too. Also, it's on
setting.
a hill as well, so it's like the moon's like shining down on it. It's like it's a really beautiful arena to have a final boss fight in. So yeah, it's just a really cool end to Bloodborne.
Yeah.
I do really like Bloodborne and its aesthetics in general. That Elden Ring, imagine playing it, dude. Imagine.
Who needs it when you got the Victorian Goth version?
Exactly. Where's Bloodborne 2, Blue Point?
I need to really play a Souls FromSoft game at some point.
If you're going to play one, I'd say Bloodborne, personally.
Yeah.
But
Bloodborne would be
honestly,
the one I would
was
recommend to you, or you might like Sekiro.
Bloodborne
might
or
be a bit
Sekiro,
more your
Bloodborne or
speed.
Sekiro. Yeah, those were the two I was thinking. Because like the aesthetic of Souls just doesn't really appeal to me.
Neither
Like the
does
three
it. Doesn't
Dark
do anything
Souls.
for me either.
I hope
which is
you
why
like
I
dark
find
fantasy.
which is why I'm finding it hard to get into Elden Ring, personally, because the whole medieval kind of fantasy, like that kind of aesthetic, does nothing for me. Whereas Victorian Gothic horror did something for me, and to be fair, just kind of ninja shit also does stuff to me, like fucking feudal Japan kind of aesthetic, kind of jumpy ninja go brr stab looks like
hook
fun.
Arm.
Yeah,
grappling hook arm. Yeah,
it does look fun. But I will play Elden Ring and Demon Souls before I pick up Sekiro. He says. I'll probably give up on them.
He'll probably purchase a copy of Sekiro before he's
just for
played any
spite,
of them.
just for spite. Like,
And then we'll just all hang out on the shelf together.
Brr. Yeah, Sekiro go brr, my game. But no, there you go.
And then
we got one left. Yeah, Xenoblade 2's final boss fucking sucks.
It really does.
As much, right. Hear me out. Xenoblade 2, for those Xenoblade fans that have not listened to our podcast before, welcome. Be sure to subscribe and follow because we're Xenoblade shills. So this is probably one of the only pieces of negativity we'll talk about. But man, I love the story of the ending of Xenoblade 2. Like, Xenoblade 2 is like my third favorite game of all time. It's pretty high. I cried like a bitch when it ended. I literally cried like a bitch.
Did.
To be fair, I cried like a fucking... Persona 5 and Xenoblade 2 have been the biggest cries that I've probably fucking had at the end of a video game, where I've just been like dead inside at the end of them. But man, this final boss is so underwhelming and so boring, and it sucks because Malus is such a good character for the final boss to it, and he also had some really cool boss fights in the actual main game, like the fights where you actually just fight him one-on-one. Really cool. One-on-one, one-on-three. Yeah. But Big Mech is just floaty mech go burr, hit him on the sides, and chances are, unless he does his like move that's an actual danger, you're gonna win like 90% of the time. I feel it's not even a hard boss fight.
No,
so
it's really just Xenoblade 1 had a boss similar to it. I don't know if you remember
Zanza's
Yaldabaoth.
Oh, Yaldabaoth's shit. Zanza is also a terrible final boss. I just want to say also bad final boss.
A different Yaldabaoth, but yeah.
Fucking go away from these mid-tier boss fights. Fuck me.
But like that Xenoblade 1 had the same idea of a boss fight, and it was bad in that game too. Like Big Mech standing across from you as you swing at the air isn't an interesting boss concept.
It is,
and
not.
It really sucks
isn't.
that that's what Malos got devolved into as a boss in that game.
To give credence to your statement about him not being hard, I was like severely underleveled when I got to the end of this game and beat him in maybe 2 attempts.
Yeah, exactly. I beat him in 2 as well, and I was underleveled. And then playing it again last year, the replay, I was overleveled, and I had no problem with him. It was pretty
straight molly whopping.
Yeah.
Even on a first playthrough, when I didn't really understand how the combat in 2 worked, like that boss wasn't. You didn't need to know how the combat worked for that boss.
Yeah, you don't. You really
Special
don't.
moves go Bert.
Yeah.
But now it's
Mr.
just
Crit recharge go Bert.
And if you use Numa, Jesus, that boss is just like bye, just like wave, like bye. Guess you're deady, bye.
Honestly.
But now,
then if you go in there with all the new blades they added in, fuck, power creep was not kind to Malos.
It's just not a good final boss. It's just nah. It's worse than meh. It's bad. It's bad. But it's teetering over that edge. It is teetering over that edge.
Yeah. But especially coming off like the fight with Jin in the last chapter.
Yeah.
Which was like a fantastic send off for him.
I liked his fight.
Yeah.
So sad, dude.
But no.
Oh well.
Like Joker and Junker. Wow, what a phrase that is. Try and say that like 5 times fast. Junker and Junker. I can't even say Joker and Junko. Jesus.
Joker and Junko.
Yeah, it's a tongue twister. Yeah. Those are like really bad on the bad spectrum. Xenoblade 2 is like crossing that line between is it bad, is it mediocre. On another day, I'd say it's just mediocre, but
just underwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say it's bad just because it's no threat, and it just is kind of it's just there. And there's better bosses that would have done a better job. And you can basically swap that and Persona 4 as bad and meh on different days. But today, Persona 4 is meh and Xenoblade 2 is bad. Tomorrow, as this video goes out, Persona 4 is bad and Xenoblade 2 is meh. You choose. But there you go. That's my list anyway. Which means it's time for Hunter. I mean, let's just check the final. Oh god, I dropped it. There we go. Right, final one. There you go. It's
Oh, shoot,
Kyle,
you wrote
guys.
Jack's
It was
name.
Kyle.
Oh,
It
fuck!
was Kyle. Hope you got another 3x3. It was Hunter, by the way. I did swap.
I
them
love
out.
Cortex
There you
from Crash Bandicoot 2.
go. Oh,
No,
that's-
you
that's
don't.
fine.
He's a great fight.
Okay, right. Let's get moving because it's already an hour 40 in. We love the 3x3s, ladies and gentlemen.
Hell yeah, we're on pace, dude.
We're on pace. We're on pace.
We're
We're
on
definitely
pace
making
to
it to
beat the
2
other
hours.
one.
We're definitely making it to 2 hours. I'm telling you that much. Anyway, go on then, Hunter. Are you ready? Give us a countdown.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1,
Clap.
go.
Right.
Ooh.
Okay.
Alright, now I'll read through them because.
Yeah.
I
I don't
also
know
have
what the
pictures
fuck
here.
some of these are. So you just.
I
gotta-
recognize
Alright.
some of them.
Alright, so
One of them has a name on it.
from left to right.
Oh my god!
Top
High five,
down.
Hunter! Fucking high five! I just noticed the middle one. High five! Dude.
Yeah.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah. Left
I
to
know
right,
that
top
one.
down. We got Henry Cooldown from No More Heroes 1. Necron from Final Fantasy 9. Ravenbeak from Metroid Dread.
High five, Hunter! I basically said that one in spirit. Hell yeah! dude.
Yeah. I have Dark Beast Ganon in the picture here for Breath of the Wild, but I'm kind of including the whole fight. Joker from Arkham Asylum.
Hell yeah, Riser.
Baldur from God of War.
Fucking good pick, by the way. I like that
Ruvik from The Evil Within.
one. Okay.
Dark Element from Dark Cloud 2. Nobunaga Oda from Onimusha 3. Conspicuous by his absence, Virgil from Devil May Cry 3, because I thought Kyle would pick him.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't pick Virgil because I didn't want Ethan to yell at me. Consider Virgil as an honorary pick.
It's a new season. It's time for a new session of bullying them for talking about Devil May Cry again. Let's go.
Hey, we did a good job in the second season.
Yeah, to be fair, it was better than the first season, to be fair. Right, anyway, so Kyle, I think the way we should do this is half these games I don't even know what they are, so I assume you may
Same.
know what they are. Oh, great. Well, fuck.
Okay, neither of you
I-
know the bottom
know-
row at all, I don't think.
Let's start
Nope.
with the bottom row then. Let's start
Alright.
with the
Yeah,
bottom row.
fuck it.
You want to go where you want
Because
to go
we'll have nothing
first?
to add. We'll have nothing to add,
Yeah.
so you go for it.
The top ones, I think I know where those would fall. And Joker, we've already
Alright.
talked about.
Yeah, Joker is bad, undisputably horrible, atrocious.
Yeah.
I'd rather drink battery acid than play that fuck again.
Fucking hell. That may be a bit much, but okay.
Anyway, talking about
battery.
other bad boss fights, we got Ruvik from The Evil Within. Oh god. Okay, so I normally like horror game bosses are usually never good. Like Silent Hill, for example, every boss in the first 2 games is stand in a room in the corner of the room and shoot it until it gets too close and then run to the other corner. So I wasn't really considering those because that's hardly a thing to go by. But The Evil Within as a game had other boss encounters that proved that they could do boss fights well, and this was not one of them. This thing was barely a quick time event. Like, it's not because you have full control of Detective Seabass there while you're doing the thing, but it's
His name's
like-
Seabass.
his name is Sebastian Castellanos.
Okay.
Hey guys, my name's Detective Seabass. How's it going?
That's what I and my brother call him. Is Seabass.
He's my colleague. Fucking
No, I get
corporal
that. I
fucking
knew.
flounder dude. Like, hey, how's it going?
No, I get that.
No, his
Hunter.
colleague is Spider-Man. He's voiced by Yuri Lowenthal.
Oh, that's-
But anyway, so it's barely not a quick time event. You just had a decent boss fight beforehand, and it's just kind of run to the end of this thing. He gets impaled, and you catch a rocket launcher from this falling jeep in the middle of this random surreal landscape, and it just wasn't good.
Hell yeah, dude. I also,
Hell
I know horror boss fights suck most of the time, by the way. I just want to say that.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to fucking the final boss of Resi 5, by the way. That fucking thing's funny. as shit.
Yeah,
That thing's
it's
funny as
great.
shit.
I want to give a shout out to Resi 2's final boss of unload the minigun ammo into it.
Oh yeah,
The boss fight.
That's literally what Resident Evil boss fights. Unload the
It really is.
minigun, fire the
Uh,
rocket launcher. Fucking.
that's all they got as far as final battles. It's funny because I think that the boss fights that precede that in both campaigns are decent.
Mm.
Like Birkin was fine.
Funny.
I still haven't played Leon's story.
Yeah.
One day.
I'll get to it eventually.
Yeah, one day. But
So that's
horror
all I
games
got to say on
horror games are a mixed bag for boss fights, dude.
Yeah.
Oh well.
It's because it's at odds with the concept of what they are most of the time. It's like,
yeah,
you can't confront things directly, so they gotta make something stupid for you to do instead.
It is weird when it's like, especially with a lot of horror games, it's like you're avoiding the kind of the threat a lot of the times. Like it's a lot of running, a lot of kind of stealthing your way through sections. So it's kind of weird to have like this kind of ending where it's like the opposite of that, where it is just like, well, I guess we have to beat the shit out of something now, so I guess you now have rocket launcher to beat the thing you've been running from.
I think a lot of times they're trying to go for like catharsis factor, at least with like Resi games.
Yeah,
Definitely.
that's fair.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on to Dark Element here. He's also terrible, let me tell you. This dude comes right out of nowhere. The main villain of Dark Cloud 2. I don't talk about Dark Cloud 2 nearly as much as I talk about the first game.
I didn't even know there was a second one, to be honest. I'm gonna be real with
It's
you.
called Dark Chronicle, where you're from.
Oh, that's high.
You silly Europeans don't know how to count to 2.
It's like
Fucking idiots.
it's like when Sly Cooper and the Furious Raccoon is just called Sly Raccoon here. It's like we couldn't comprehend the rest of it.
Yeah. But anyway, the main villain of Dark Cloud 2 is this dude called Griffin, who is like transcends time and is like messing up multiple periods of history to just, I don't know, destroy the world. And the whole final like chapter of this game is bad because it tries to pull this last second pity card for him. And I'm like, nah, don't believe it. And then this dude here, Dark Element's like the epitome of that, where it's like the darkness in his soul become manifest. And aside from being just atrocious story-wise, it is atrocious gameplay-wise, where he doesn't have the decency to die quickly. He is spongy. It gives you a time limit. I had the best sword with its stats maxed out, and that was a very hairline time limit there. Like, I still... very close.
I'm gonna take your word for it and just be like, yeah, I agree, because I'm not.
Yeah, that all just sounds miserable to deal with.
Sounds like a fucking pain in the arse, to be honest.
It sucks.
Does. I agree.
Yeah. So moving on from him, we got
sword dudes.
The other end of the spectrum here. Onimusha 3 is a showstopper of a boss fight where you have you get to play most of the fight in like the Super Onimusha mode, which is great because you got the swords with the max stats, but now you just get to smack Nobunaga around, who's got like his extra demon form there with like superpowers. And it's a lot of fun. Onimusha's not quite as like stylish as DMC is, but it's still really cool as far as its gameplay, and it's really satisfying to just cycle through all your sweet weapons and just smack them with your best attacks. So that is a good final battle.
Cool.
I like whacking things.
So, where do you want to go next, since we've covered the blind spots there?
Well, so we basically already covered like half the fucking the square now. So we've just done that rapid fire. So I guess we can go into more detail with the rest of these. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about... We've talked about Joker from Batman Arkham. He fucking sucks.
He's also bad.
Bad. Use your grapple hook, Batman. Pacha, you killed him. Good job. You broke the floorboards. Well done. I'm interested... I'm going to save that one for now. Let's talk about Breath of the Wild.
Alrighty.
So... I am assuming you put this under Mare.
I did, yes.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm spoiled by the fact that, like, from Wind Waker on, every boss fight concluded with a sword fight, and I was left wanting, even though it wouldn't really have made sense. But also,
Breath of the Wild 2, Hunter. Breath of the Wild 2.
Yeah, I know, coming. Dude, it's coming, and it's gonna be great. But Calamity Ganon was a really good phase 1 for a final boss. I thought it was, like, really solid as far as all of that. And then Dark Beast Ganon wasn't good.
Shoot the shiny, Link.
Yeah,
the shiny.
So the reason it's meh is because the first part is really good, but yeah, I said specifically a good phase 1. Like, if that was it too, I would have also been left wanting. Mm-hmm. And then the second part wasn't great at all, so, you know.
Here's my problem with the first part as well. is, again, as someone that likes to thoroughly play these kinds of games when I'm into them, the whole idea is, I think it's really cool that you can go to the final boss and beat it instantly. If you want to. If you're good enough, you can beat it. I'm like, that's cool. I like that. I also think it's cool that you get assistance if you've beaten each Divine Beast, you get assistance. But what I hate about that is if you have done every Divine Beast and you've gone and done every shrine, the first phase is a fucking cakewalk. It's no challenge because they take half the health bar away essentially, and then they go, "Oh, half the health bar's gone, and also because you've explored, you're basically OP as fuck. So good luck."
The thing that confuses me about the way they did that is why are the blights tied to the first health bar? Why wouldn't they be? And I've never attempted to fight him like without doing those, so I don't know how it works exactly.
I believe if you haven't done them, you have to fight the blights in the castle first, and then do the battle with Ganon.
Oh, so the blights are scattered around the castle?
No, so the the big throne room in the center where the floor crumbles. You have to fight.
So you fight them there.
You have to fight the blights in that room, and then they die. And then once you've killed them, you go and do the final boss. So it doesn't make sense to me why half of his health is gone, because really all you're taking away is the obstacle of that first room where you have to kill all the blights. So I'm like...
Yeah, I guess it's because they all can now shoot him with the laser, but, you know...
I think that's right. I'm going to double check.
Yeah.
But right. You keep talking.
But yeah, so, like, Calamity Ganon's a really solid first part, and then the second part kind of just flubs it. So, like... Would a one-on-one sword fight have appeased me? Probably.
Absolutely.
Like before
Demise for as forgettable as he was.
Demise was a spectacle. Fight. It was amazing. Like,
sorry, I'm just looking here and I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
Like Skyward strikes that are powered by lightning. It's amazing. Demise was a really good fight.
It was.
Yeah, I'm just looking here. Yeah, you fight them all in the castle, and as soon as you kill one of the blights, the next one spawns instantly without a break. So you basically have to do a boss rush of all of them at one, back to back to back to back to back, is what happens.
So that's where they hit the boss rush.
Yeah, basically. Which to me,
Zelda
again,
likes those.
It doesn't make sense, because yeah, okay, if you beat the 4 blights, then congratulations, you can skip
Why are they
fight
in the castle, though? Aren't they haunting the beasts?
No clue. Maybe because they sense that you've come to get the actual source, that they come running back and teleport in. I don't know.
I guess. All right.
But it just feels weird, because it's like, why does half your the health bar go to? Shouldn't it just be you skip to the final boss and that's your reward? Because it's dumb. It's dumb, and it makes it way too easy, in my opinion, anyway.
Or like maybe if they wanted the laser to do something, maybe take off like a quarter instead of half of it.
Or if they want the lasers to do something, fucking kill the big boy outside. Fucking fire the laser to fucking kill bullshit arrow mini game. Make that go away, not the actual fight.
Or they could have put or they could have like shot him out of the. Yeah, there's a lot of ways they could have implemented that a little better.
Yeah,
but
oh well.
Breath of the Wild 2's final battle's going to be a showstopper.
Can't wait to see it in 2024.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun time.
2024.
Yeah, that's getting pushed. Switch 2, baby.
All right. Where do you guys want to go next?
It's Cal's pick.
Yeah.
So I've seen a lot of this boss, and I want to hear your take on it. It's Necron, Final Fantasy IX.
Ah, right, Necron. He comes right out of nowhere. He's very similar to the Dark Element guy I talked about. Comes out of nowhere. The thing that Necron has over him and why he's meh instead of bad is I'm not getting hit with a time limit. And also, he's very non-challenging for where I always am at the end of the game. So, he's not really relevant to the story at all. Like, you had just fought the main villain of the game right beforehand, and that was a good fight, and they didn't need him to show up. And then he shows up, kind of menaces you, but, you know, is not very threatening. You kill him and he's gone. So it's kind of just this weird blip in the radar before you can actually see the end of the game. And that's why he's, like, in the mediocre category instead of offensively bad.
just like a weird roadblock.
Yeah. It's like we didn't think that which is just in case you didn't get the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have nothing to say. I don't even know what this boss fight is because I am a Final Fantasy idiot. Apparently, I know nothing.
No,
It's okay. I haven't played this game either.
Have you not?
I've played half of it.
Half of it.
Because I was going to say, what's your opinion, Cal? And I guess it's I haven't played it. Wow.
My opinion is that I like Final Fantasy IX.
Oh.
At least the half I played. The half I played was really, really good.
So why didn't you finish
It
it?
was good. They make you do the
card
mini
game
game.
tournament.
There's like a mandatory card game.
What, you can just be asked to look up how to do it?
So what bothers me is that the plot of the game was really good going into the end of Disc 2, and then it just comes to a screeching halt at the start of Disc 3.
Oh, nice. That's hot.
It just slows the fuck down, and then says, here's card game tournament, and I say, here's me ejecting the disc.
If you just play the 3 games that they want you to, the plot picks back up.
Yeah, but that's effort. And also at this point, I would just restart the game.
Just buy it on buy it on the PlayStation 4 so you can pass the game to me after you get to the card game.
I might buy it on PS4.
You can even turn on 99.99 damage and Ballroom Blitz the first 2 discs.
Perfect.
Wait, you can do that?
Yeah. I think all
of
the games implement all the like PS1 games that they have on the PS4 let you do that.
No.
Know.
Oh, that's hard.
No,
the trophies aren't
I used it
tied
for
to
FF8.
that, really.
No, that's but if it's like defeat bosses or get to the end of the game and Ethan can just press the one button kills all button, that's great. Ethan's no brain Final Fantasy series. Let's go. Whack, whack, move on. That sounds epic.
Yeah.
I did not know that was a feature with the PS4 versions. That's cool.
Yeah, that's great.
Usually they give you like infinite limit breaks and shit like that.
All the good stuff.
Oh.
In Final Fantasy VIII, it had like no encounters, infinite limit breaks, and either double or triple speed.
Yeah, so it makes the moving across the things less tedious.
A lot of them are on PlayStation Now and Game Pass, I think, so that's actually a pretty interesting concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy IX's a really good story too, so like if you just play it that way, but you'd still have a decent experience.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because most of the time if I did want to play one of those old RPGs, it's for the story, not for the gameplay.
It does have a fun cast of characters, yeah.
Probably not usually incredibly.
Good stuff.
Right, so we got 3 left?
We do, yes.
I'm not picking the No More Heroes one, you can't make me. So so
that's 2 choices.
I'm gonna pick the one that we've slightly talked about now, so that we can save the final one being something that hasn't been talked about. So let's talk about Beaky Boy from Metroid Dread.
Oh, Ravenbeak is so cool, man.
Ravenbeak, that's his name.
First of all,
his name was.
What a design!
It looks
really
super
neat.
design.
Yeah, it's really good,
man. And like he as a boss is really solid. Does a really great job of testing like your abilities with everything that you have at your disposal. So, he is a pretty stiff challenge. Like, it took me about an hour of attempting. Not really much more than that.
Same.
Give or take. I was stopping to chat with people in between attempts. So, that's really good. Once I passed a phase, I continued to pass that phase on all my other attempts, so it's not like I got roadblocked super hard by something and then got lucky. So, like, it's really well balanced for being as challenging as it is. And, the conclusion of the fight also so cool.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Ethan, your mic is...
Sorry. I was kind of overwhelmed because I had you on the one and I was like, oh, let me just fix this real quick. And then I forgot that my mic was muted. It's all good though. But no, I definitely agree. I really liked it as a final boss. It was pretty challenging, but not in an annoying way, because I felt like I was making progress every time that I was attempting it. I think the only thing that was annoying to me was the fucking lift that you had to go into, because I'm like, fuck me, just have it be a door or something. I don't want the animations. Come on, come on, game. come on. But no, I do like it, and it's satisfactory. It's satisfactory, and then you get to do the runaway shit afterwards anyway, because it's a Metroid game, so you get to do the runaway shit.
Yeah.
With your cool new suit and your screw you laser. It's so good.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. It's fun. Can't wait to play a 3D Metroid game in the year 2029, dude. It's going to be a fun time.
Yeah.
God, Metroid Prime 4. What a fucking journey that game will have had by the time it comes out.
On the Switch 3.
On the Switch 3. What was Retro working on before they took control
Donkey
of this?
Kong?
No, that game
Star
never
Fox.
existed. What game did they make between 2014 and 2019 where they picked this game up? Nothing. Did they?
No,
I hope they put.
I hope they put it in like a
Retro?
vault to come back to later.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, that'd be fun.
Retro did the Donkey Kong Country Returns.
Yeah.
Well,
Tropical
yeah.
Freeze was out in 2014.
Yeah.
They had from
I don't know,
2014
did
to
they
2019.
do anything else?
No, they did nothing between 2014 and 2019. Nothing.
All they know is Monkey Game.
They literally
Well-
they made Monkey Game in 2014. Then they were working on something from 2014 to 2019, but then they had to pick up Metroid Prime 4 from Bandai because it wasn't working well. So then they took main development and restarted. So we have no clue what they worked on for 5 years, and no one's seeing it.
That's where my Captain Falcon fighting game is.
For all we
knew it.
know, it's. I assume at this point it's been scrapped.
good
Whatever
Star
it
Fox.
was, whatever it was
Good
probably
Star Fox.
dead, right? Because I
Yeah.
feel like it would have been like if they had put it in a vault, they probably would have released it by now.
Well, I mean, I don't know where. Like, I meant more so like the ideas of what they were gonna do rather than necessarily like they had a game done and they're just sitting on it. You know?
It just seems weird because like Retro, like it's weird for a big Nintendo team to not have a game release in that long. For example, fucking Mario Strike, Luigi's Mansion 3. That team has just made Mario Strikers because it's next level,
Yeah.
and it's like they've made a game in like 3 years, and it's like what did Retro do for 6? Like nothing, like 5 or 6 years. Yes, they ported Tropical Freeze to Switch, but that doesn't fucking count. Adding Funky Kong did not take them 5 years.
Yeah, that's true.
It might have, dude.
It took them 3.5.
They had to get those jorts perfect.
They did. Oh well. But yeah, Ravenbeak's a good boss though. We like
Yeah, he
Ravenbeak.
Yes.
Okay, Kyle,
Funky Kong aside.
you get the second to
Metroid's
last
good.
pick. Are we talking about No More Heroes?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, let's do No More Heroes.
So the complete
Mostly 'cause I know
opposite.
this one.
The complete opposite of the No More Heroes 2 boss fight or final boss. Henry cooldown is just really cool. As
He's
far
so
as
cool.
you see him once, like you encounter him one other time in the story, but he's not like the main villain really. That No More Heroes doesn't really have a main villain. It just kind of has a goal that you achieve, and then he shows
Kill
up at the end. And he's
Chaos.
like,
Chaos.
yeah, that you achieve, and then he just kind of shows up at the end and challenges you to a sword fight out in your front yard.
Sounds
Yeah,
about
that's
right.
pretty dope.
So it's still, so despite not having a whole lot of setup, it's still, you know, serviceable because No More Heroes and the personality is more in the moment there. And he's got a lightsaber like Travis does. It's a pretty solid battle of equals fight. I remembered him being harder than he turned out to be. Like the last time I played the game at like the end of 2020, he was like super easy. And I remember struggling with him a bit more, or at least I thought I did when I played it the first time. But, you know, it's still a really great fight. No More Heroes was never particularly hard in the first place, so I wasn't
Right.
too fussed about it.
Mm-hmm. No, I have nothing to say, Kyle. You're the No More Heroes guy. What do you have to say?
So I've actually never played No More Heroes 1. I started with 2, and I don't want to go back to 1 because it's shitty.
So the annoying thing is like somewhere in the elements of 1 and 2 are like the best possible No More Heroes game, and 3 is not that.
Yeah.
Because like
3 is just a lot of 1.
1, the feel of the combat in the first game is better than how 2 feels.
Yeah.
But also, you have to deal with their annoying structural problems, like the open world and doing the jobs. Whereas in 2, that's all streamlined.
You
and
just
you
go
can
from
do
boss
your
to
thing.
boss.
Car on my end. So, like, somewhere in between those two would have been the perfect game, and 3 wasn't that, although, you know, that one had the best feeling combat of the series now, I think, but, you know, it doesn't matter because none of it was meaningful, or very little of it was meaningful. No. Also, Henry shows up again in 3, and they do him dirty. I do not like it.
He's also not voiced by Quentin Flynn in 3.
No, he isn't.
For whatever that's worth.
For reasons.
He's barely... Yeah. He doesn't even do the Irish accent.
Oh no.
Oh dear. Oh well. Right, there we go. No more heroes. Right, final one, which I think is interesting, because I forgot about this, and I was like, oh, that's a good pick, actually. Baldur from God of War 2018.
Baldur from God of War 2018 is a meh boss fight, especially as the final battle, because you fight him 2 other times in the game. It hardly changes, really. And the second fight happens like an hour or 2 before this final battle. So, like, they didn't really... Like, this final encounter here didn't really add much to your confrontation with him, other than it kind of needed to happen.
I think the problem is that I love the first fight.
The first fight is so good.
The first fight is like
this great,
brilliant.
It's this great tone setter for what the feel.
Like if we had like best just boss fights in period, I would have considered that like not if it wasn't just final bosses, because that first boss is so fucking good. But then again, as he keeps appearing over the course of the game, you're just like, oh, we're doing this again. And it kind of feels
like... And I could be just not
repetitive.
Remembering the other 2 fights as well, but I feel like there's less pizzazz to it, and it's just they're just kind of punching each other forever, whereas in the first fight, you're like throwing him through trees and all that.
Yeah, the first time you're fighting in the forest, and there's trees going everywhere, and the land kind of goes all like crazy, and
yeah,
it ends with you throwing him off a ravine, and it's pretty cool.
It's like a Dragon Ball Z fight brought to life in a video game.
It genuinely is like a Dragon Ball.
Except
like they're
better than all the Dragon Ball Z video games do it.
Literally, you genuinely have a moment where Baldur picks up Kratos and fucking throws him, like, eats the fucker, and he flies like a Dragon Ball character does, like, miles away into, like, a tree. And it's like, what the fuck is this? Like,
yeah.
It's really good. But yeah, I like, as a final boss, I think it's fine. I think...
it's not offensive or anything. It's just kind of like, I already did this and you didn't do anything else.
Yeah, I think you're a little bit more colder on it than I am. But I still enjoyed it. Mainly just because I really like the combat in God of War 2018. It's really good.
Yeah, like it certainly serves its purpose, for sure.
But no, I can see why you would think that it's a meh boss fight. But no. Fair enough. And there we go. With that, we have talked about 27 boss fights. Some good, some bad, some not good and not bad. And there we go. That's what
we call those average.
We call those average. We call that this podcast. Am I right, ladies and gentlemen? There we go. We got him, boys. We got it. But no, let us know what you guys have as picks. We'd like to know what you guys are thinking. What are your favorite bosses? What final bosses rather? What are your least favorite final bosses? And hey, what are some final bosses where you were just like, eh?
Yeah, they happen.
It's alright, it's fine. It does the job, or it was mediocre. We'd love to hear your picks. Also,
feel free to just go ham on the ones that I held myself back from, like all these games that don't really have any business having boss fights, like Uncharted. Lazarevich sucks, but you know, Uncharted's combat is bad anyway. So
I didn't hate the Wraith fight, but that was just a sword fight. But the controls just felt off. Like it was a cool sword fight, but the controls felt off.
Yeah, or like the one in the first game was bad too, and that one...
the ship one, that one was fucking ass.
That one was super obnoxious too, because I feel like that ship got bigger than it was when we saw it going in. I feel like he should have been across here by now.
Yeah, Or number 3s is just fucking. We just gave up. Did they even have one? I don't think they did. I just think it was like an army of
the boss was an old lady, wasn't? Or the villain was an old lady, wasn't she?
Yeah, but didn't she just fucking die?
I don't remember.
I feel like the ending was that long. She just died of old age, and we just moved on. Like genuinely, like I don't remember. All I remember was the city's collapsing again, and Nate's like, "I can't believe the city's collapsing for the 3rd time, guys! Wow." Is this Uncharted? Whoa, shit. God, Uncharted 3 is my least favorite Uncharted, but oh well. It's fine. But yeah, I guess, as always, our links are on screen. Right now, you can go and follow us on your favorite social media service, if that's Twitter. I don't know why I always say social media platform when we only have Twitters. But yeah, you can go and do that. Keep up to date with everything we do outside of HGO. But if you don't want to keep up to date with us, that's cool too. You can go and follow us on Twitter at HotGamersOnly, or subscribe to us at youtube.com/HotGamersOnly. And hey, if you don't want to look at our stupid faces, that's cool too. You can head to the link tree in the description or search for Hot Gamers Only on your favorite podcast service, where you can catch us each and every Monday. And yeah, with that has been our show. You know, we're back with a bang, an over 2-hour episode. You love to see it, guys. The 3x3s, they love to
already
do it.
Started at a length average high for season 3.
Oh,
this could be a contender for longest episode of the season.
Oh yeah, that'd be funny if we peak on length in the first episode. Like every other episode's like 20 minutes long. We're just like,
yeah, especially if
you got a full
since
first
the spoiler
episode.
cast their own thing now. Like we might be able to talk about Horizon forever when I finish it, but you know.
Well, I'm just thinking because like most
That's
of
what the spoiler cast is for.
most of the 3x3s are like the exact same length. Like literally, this episode and the PS2 episode are gonna be like the exact same length. So this is like a shorter one because 27 Amazing RPGs was like 2.5 hours. So
Yeah.
we are gonna keep doing these 3x3s though every so often, not every week, or else fucking hell we'd be having monumental podcast.
We'd have to start like hitting the pinata for topics if we had to do this like every week.
We'd have to stop talking about video games, and that's pretty sad.
April Fool's is coming up. We still got time to do the music one.
Oh yeah, we have got time. But yeah, let us know if you have any ideas for 3x3 topics that you'd like to see. Do you want to see our favorite whatevers? Our least favorite.
What's our favorite first bosses?
What are our favorite first bosses? What are our favorite games from this console? What's our favorite whatever of a game? Do you want Jack to do a favorite first-person shooters episode where we do a 3x3? Let's find out. Let us know.
Have I even played 9 shooters?
I know Jack hasn't. 007 going night fight, 007 night fight. Just keeps going. But yeah, there we go. Next week we'll obviously have our Ghostwire Tokyo impressions. Who knows? Me and Cal may have played a video game. Will I have played Elden Ring? Find out next week. The answer's probably no. But we'll have definitely done something. Who knows? Hunter will have played a game. Maybe me and Kyle will play. Maybe I'll pick up a reader and me and Kyle will just beat each other up for a couple of hours. Who knows?
Maybe.
Yo, I'd be down.
Yeah,
that sounds like stream content.
We could do that. Maybe. I'll contemplate it. But yeah, we'll be back next Monday.
I will refrain from playing it until you buy it. Like, I've put like no time into it.
Yeah, but you know that after that first stream, that'll be the only time we play it where we'll be equal, because you'll then put time into it and I'll just forget about it and then mold in the corner when I shit at it.
Nah, dude,
I don't know very much
you.
about
like
Persona
Ludo.
Arena, but I've seen like the artwork. I really like the obnoxious Teddy title belt that is like on Narukami.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
I'm like, oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. We might do it. We'll see. Anyway, you'll find out next week. Same time, same place for more. But until then, have an awesome week. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.
See ya.
Toodaloo.